What's up, everyone? Today's the day. The announcement. Pretty excited. Running out of stuff to play. That's a lie. There's stuff I could play, but just want to play some damn Path of Exile. The week before our league start is like the longest week ever. I figured we'd watch some videos before. This one's caught my eye. The craziest PoE league theory yet. By Talkative Try. That boy is talkative. Let's check it out.
Away from the epic reveal of Path of Exile 3.24. And while I've read and even cooked up some crazy Necropolis theories, the one I'm about to lay out is by far the craziest.
I hope this isn't a
But
lore
as we all
theory.
know, grinding your
Because
game
I could care
let us
less.
build passive skill trees on our passive skill tree. They enabled us to completely shape how we would like to play during endgame, and they even have an entire fishing mechanic implemented into the game that wipes your memory every time you interact with it. Don't ask me how I know that. It's classified. The point being, nothing pitched by us mere Path of Exile players is outside the realm of possibility. We all know the PoE developers are on another plane of existence. Necropolis will assuredly showcase that. My fellow exiles, welcome. I am Try. Let's talk some Path of Exile 1. I'm keen that 3.24
What's going on with his desk over there? Is that dust? What is... Looks like a drafting pencil. No.
Path of Exile 1. I'm keen that 3.24 is a love letter to the era of 3.0, as we might be entering a new era of Path of Exile with Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2. And Grinding Your Games is the type of company who would like to do a tremendous send-off, just as they did back during the 2.0 era with Legacy League. Let me front-load the idea, then we can study this older league. Necropolis leeches off all the amazing ideas of the 3.0 era and creates a compelling, blood-rich whole. It will interact with beloved last leagues, and it will send PoE 1 into its next era of expansions swimmingly. Maybe it's even the last 3.0 age expansion. If that sounds compelling,
It could be.
Keep watching, Exiles.
I think they're going to be pretty
Legacy
damn
League's
focused on
idea was
PoE 2 the rest of the year,
GG
though.
thought, we have a big launch coming up after this league. We have little time to design lots of brand new assets, but we would like to still have a league that players will love. The result was Legacy, a league which allowed Path of Exile players to access every league mechanic from the 2.0 era using a suite of keys. You might even realize these are quite similar to Scarabs, and they are, but this was a novel idea at the time.
Oh. That scarab looking thing we were talking about in the Discord that I saw. I wonder if that is a key. Maybe they are going to do a legacy type league. That'd be pretty dope. I'd be down for that.
Reception to Legacy League was overwhelmingly positive. Path of Exile players loved the concept and did not mind the reused assets. The idea was good and the execution was good. Therefore, it was enjoyable. Okay, alright, let's go. Necropolis then will be Legacy League on steroids. Hear me out. We've had a long series of 3.0 patches, from Bestiary to Synthesis and Scourge to Trial of the Ancestors. It has been quite the path traveled. The Necropolis League will be home for all these historic leagues. Much like the Forbidden Sanctum, the Necropolis shall be a dungeon. More like Delve, it shall be near infinite. We begin at the start of each dungeon, and we can explore sets of wings comprised of rooms. We'll talk more about the story behind how this is happening, as well as the room and wing rewards later. Every time we enter a new wing, we roll a random set of leagues to pull into the wing. Every room will be carved out from some sort of historic league, with some other unexpected placements in there, similar to Lake of Calandra. Additionally, each league room has a common occurrence and a rare occurrence. I imagine the UI to be quite similar to what we had with Synthesis too, obviously a bit cleaned up and modernized. Here are several ideas I had off the top of my head for rooms. Chamber of Stupid Beasts. Contains either 6 packs of animals, 3 yellow beasts, and 1 red beast, or an apparition of Einhar and 2 red beasts. The Mirrored Pool Contains 10 packs of monsters, 3 random map bosses, and a Kalandra jewelry reflection bench,
Yeah, I
or
just saw
a
this. I
portal
was
to a fully
curious.
populated Lake of Kalandra
He
with
has a good point though, because he said in Legacy League there were keys that looked like scarabs that let you access all the old content. And that scarab that I saw in the inventory, that looked super weird. That wouldn't surprise me if that was a sort of key as kind of a send off for Legacy League. That wouldn't surprise me. So he might be
multiple
onto
rare
something with this.
islands. Abyssal Lair contains an abyssal spire and 2 abyssal cracks, or between 1 and 3 abyssal liches. The Immortal Altar contains 10 Immortal Syndicate members and 1 to 4 random safe house rewards, or Uber Katarina, who has a 100% chance to drop a Veiled Chaos Orb. The possibilities are endless, especially if you change up the room occurrences too. Additionally, how might you receive attempts to go into the Necropolis? I think grinding
Yeah,
your games will go big.
yeah.
Completing any existing league mechanic gives you credit toward a track, allowing you to hop right into Necropolis and complete a set number of rooms. However, I think you all might be interested in what we might get specifically from my version of Necropolis. Long have we waited for my guest rewards of Necropolis League, Atlas Jewels. Just like our character's passive skill tree, we need some jewel sockets and jewels to fill out our Atlas. Additionally, I posit with the addition of jewels, grinding your games will remove sextants from the game entirely. Farewell, awakened, and elevated sextants. Instead, some of their modifiers and a whole
Mm,
host of new ones will be added to the pool of
that would be
Atlas
a
jewel mods.
huge. If they got rid of sextants, that would be a huge nerf to Sanctum. Sanctum? Holy shit, has it been so long? I forgot the name of the mechanic I do constantly. What the fuck? It's called Sanctum, right? I'm not
Obviously,
gonna think about it
some
too
of them will
much.
need to get nerfed and others will be removed entirely, but trading off the need to manage sextants constantly will take away one of the only pains related to mapping. Atlas Jewels will be a permanent, and in addition to normal magic and rare ones you can
Sanctum.
roll, there
Yeah,
will
holy
be a
shit.
suite
That
of unique
sounded
ones
wrong to
as
me for
well.
so long.
Some of you longtime PoE players might be thinking, isn't this just Watchstones? Well, if grinding your games choose to do what they did with Watchstones, then yes.
Yeah, that would
Hundreds
suck if
of
they got rid of
modifiers
Awakened
with tiny
Sextants for me.
percentage
I might have
increases,
to rethink
and
my
a select
starting
few of
strategy.
actually good affixes. However, that was when sextants existed. That was when the Atlas passive skill tree didn't exist. I reckon now they're willing to part ways with sextants entirely and roll everything into permanent stamps on the Atlas passive skill tree. A few leagues ago, I dabbled in these Atlas jewels being limited use just like sextants, but I now don't think that's the way to go. This does appear to be Path of Exile 3.24 Quality of Life League after all. This reward set and item ad is totally feasible, maybe more so than my proposed league mechanic and its story. No good Path of Exile league lacks a compelling story, and the last few have been certified bangers. I expect Necropolis will continue this trend and not disappoint. Therefore, here's my theory on what we'll see with the release of 3.24's story patch. The Templars and the
Yeah,
Atonement Empire are not afraid of experimenting and looking into
yeah,
the dark
that'll
arts,
be definitely be
especially if
different.
they go rogue. Just ask Lycia, a former Templar who went all up into meshing with some of the most horrifying beings on Rayclast. The dude we end up working with, the man who chants some ritual in the chamber, I bet he's conjuring up something, some ghosts of the past, some otherworldly apparitional versions of past events. That is what populates the Necropolis. This man seeks to learn from the many former events in our Rayclast and alternate Rayclasts, as we learned existed in Scourge League thanks to the Last to Die. The Necropolis is the staging ground for these conjured, spectral realities. I suspect the monsters we fight and the areas we enter will be eerie with an odd glow about them, as everything is not actually real at first, just figments of imagination brought into existence, ripped from other worlds or times in our own Rayclast. I think this would be rad and a good send off to this age of the world. Okay, alright, that's it in its entirety. The craziest theory for 3.24 I could think of during my flight to LA. That just might actually work out in some way. Do you think any of it, in any facet, might be true? Tell
Yeah, I
me
gotta
how
wait.
wrong or
Try to
right
wait for
I am
patch
in
notes
the
instead of just
comments.
deciding.
Here's a
I'm gonna
tremendous
go
thanks to everyone who
SRS.
watched this video to the end, and a massive thank you to each and every one of my supporters. I'm talking to you patrons, members, and subs.
Let's see what DM says about
All right, so
PoE
this is a
2.
major leak. I'm literally throwing my career away for you guys right here. Just so you know, this is gonna get right here. What the f? PG sues me to the ground. There's 69 classes with 69 ascendancies. Each one of the ascendancies has 69 different skills. Okay, if you got that so far, get your pen and paper out there already. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's just memeing.
Okay, so about PoE 2, the event was short. I'll tell you the shit I can tell you. Obviously, there's a fucking NDA, and we're all NDA'd till after the live stream. So if you're gonna ask particular questions,
Oh, they're showing
about
all this
PoE
during this
2,
live stream?
can't answer them. I can give you rough talking points. I can say it's fun. How many times did you die? More than I would have thought. But I'm also washed. I probably can't say anything about the gameplay, I'll be honest, till after the 21st. What I can tell you about the event was the game was fun. They allowed me to record footage, and that I will have all of that for you directly after. And it's pretty cool. Pretty good. Pretty good. That's about all I can really say. I think I got about, in footage, I got a couple hours worth. But I played more than that. I played like 4. But yeah, so let's get on with the leaks. There is a skill called Turbo Mode, which what it actually does is your character just runs. Just super fast. And all the animations are like 10 times as fast. You only get that by defeating the Barney boss, which is hidden in Act 1. You hit him in the green circles, which is the weak spot, and then it drops the Turbo Skill Gem. You put the Turbo Skill Gem into the...
They added that after everyone was talking about how slow it looked and felt. They said, oh, no, it doesn't feel that slow. It only feels slow because of this. Yeah, now you got a turbo gem? You sure that wasn't a panic button move? Like... No, you're out of your mind. It feels slow. Guys, it's slow. We gotta do something. Skill gem.
The turbo items that you only get through the
They're freaking out about the flasks at the panic button.
other secondary boss, which is Big Bird. So it's pretty good. I'm just gonna say it's pretty good. There's Turbo Man.
Coors Banquet, the same brewing tradition since 1873. Start your legacy.
From, Jingle All the Way. And there's a surprising amount of references. Darth Vader is a character you can play as in PoE 2, which is astounding to me. I can't believe
Wait, was he memeing with the turbo gem thing? Is this all a meme?
they got the IP on that one. Honestly, really good. Australia Garage. Oh, no, they didn't have that one in there. Getting sued for misinformation. Well, I gotta fly to Alaska first. Well, I can talk about the other streamers. I gotta meet everybody. Everyone's super nice, by the way. The PoE community is pretty goated. Like, honestly, everyone's super nice. I gotta meet Ben, the fucking God tier Ben guy. He was in the car on the way home to LAX so I could fly back out. I stole every bit of information out of his brain I could in the meantime. How many streamers were there? Like, everybody. And not just PoE people. Like, just all kinds of people from all kinds of... I met some guy that was super nice guy. Shout out to Harry. Does strategy games. I met Ziz. Got me my buddy M-Tosh. I haven't seen him in forever. Alkaiser is a super nice guy also, by the way. I love Alk. He's a great guy. I gotta meet my co-host Gazi. Gazi was there. He's a big boy, man. He's got some muscles on him. Were there journalists there or just streaming? There were journalists, yes. Some guy came up to me and asked me for a quote for his article, and I was like, sure. And I didn't realize he was recording until it was too late. I was just blabbing about the game, so I have no idea what quote he's going to go with. Did you like it? I did like it. That's something I can answer. I liked it a lot. I hope everyone else likes it. I liked it a lot. That's probably as far as I can go. I would love to sit here and chat about it, but it would be completely unfair to other content creators. But it is very enjoyable. How's Kitty? Is that also under PoE events and sponsorships canceled for showing this piece of paper right here? So just a heads up. I'm sacrificing a lot. With that being said, where does this go on the wall? All right, let's ruin the game further. Give me a mouse pad. This is the content you guys came for. That's pretty cool, right? That one for sure is a lawsuit for showing this early. Look, it's got the guy from Kingdom Hearts on there. He's holding a key or something. I know my video games. There it is. Brand risk indeed. And we're going to replace my old mouse pad with this one, I think. Actually, who's on it? Oh, no. I forgot. I'm not supposed to show this guy because he's the entire point of the whole meetup. That's Mr. Turbo Man himself. That right there? That's Mr. Turbo. He's the final boss in Act 69. And when you beat him, you get this thing with
20 minutes.
Clock that allows you to turn back time on all the other players, so their builds go backwards. It's actually a competitive game, and the first person to get the key of time ruins the game for other players. So I can't believe I leaked that. I'm so sorry. GGG, please forgive me. Finally, we have PvP. Could you imagine? That cup pretty cool. One thing every streamer needs is another fucking cup, am I right? PoE 2. And then I haven't seen this yet. This looks like a shirt. Oh, they have Turbo Man again on the back. There's Mr. Turbo Man on the back also. There it is. And yeah, that's pretty much the swag bag. But yeah, no, Turbo Man seems great. I think the power of being able to destroy all other players' builds is a completely insane concept. Katie, what the fuck? Jesus, animal. Scared the shit out of me. She needs bounces. Sometimes you gotta pick her up and give her some bounces, or else she feels lonely. Opinion. I think PoE 2 is much more of my style. How handsome was Matho? I didn't really get a chance to meet him more, in my opinion. I think PoE 2 footage, etc. Do you think you like PoE 2 more? I would definitely like PoE 2 more, in my opinion. I think PoE 2 is much more of my style. How handsome was Matho? I didn't really get a chance to meet Matho. I would have loved to, but we were fairly busy, and the event was very fast, so I didn't get to meet even all the people that I wanted to meet. I didn't really get a chance to meet because I arrived like 8 p.m. at the hotel the day before. The event started at 10 a.m. the next day, so it was pretty much a couple drinks and then bed. And then the event ended at like 4:30 p.m. And then my driver was there at 4:45 p.m. And then my flight was at 7:50 p.m. at LAX. So I mean, I was literally like, I was in and out. Like I barely got time to meet, you know, as many people as I would have liked for sure. But nothing but positive things to say. I think PoE 2 will be a great game. If you can't talk about the game, can you mime it? Oh, okay, good. So,
Yep.
you guys ready?
What up, Selena? I know, I'm pumped.
Did you get it? Write it down quickly. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you. Let me pull this up. Hold on.
I'm excited to be able to make content
the
again.
charity event.
Instead of talking about games that I only
The
have.
donate button down there right now goes to the charity. And the goal was only $2,000. So I want to say you guys fucking kill it. Yeah, almost doubled the goal. And then check this out also. Okay, and then on the shirts, we're trying to sell 20 shirts, but we sold 87 shirts, which was like 4 times the goal. So between the shirts and the charity link here, we raised like $5,500 or something, which is like pretty crazy to be honest. So I want to say thanks to everyone who either bought the charity shirt or donated. We did pretty good. We did pretty good, considering that it was just like almost a one-day stream or something. I just left the links up, but very, very nicely done, everybody. What is happening here? Can I log in, please? Why can I not log in? Okay, hold on.
I don't know. I might league start SRS again,
guys,
but I have to see the patch notes and see if what they did to the Sanctum,
nature of Big Bird in Act 2 being
and also
we have
like what they're
permanently removed
changing.
access to your account. Look at this, right? Oh wait, never mind. Never mind. For a moment there.
I just said I might go SRS, but I gotta see the patch notes
Calling
first.
out our suffering, Lex. Crying out for whatever help will hear their pleas.
Yeah,
The earth
PoE
may be
2.
theirs, but the heaven
What did autoplay? Oh, it's a baseball thing. 17 minutes. That talkative try video where he's talking about he thinks they're going to get rid of Sextons completely has me scared. Because that would completely brick my starting strategy. Not completely brick, but not make it worth it. That's funny because I finally just learned Betrayal like last week. I got on to actually finally learn Betrayal. Let's see. March 15th. 6 days ago I learned Betrayal. Finally. And you're saying they're gonna gut it? Because that would figure. And I didn't even get too deep into it. I learned enough to realize, okay, this is what you should focus on to get to Cat Arena or whatever. That's the whole reason I did it, is because of the Chaos Orbs. Or the whatever she drops down, those Chaos Orbs. I know, I've never gotten the recipes. I always either rely on TFT or lately it's been Corp or one of you guys. Yeah, Aceling is no more. Because now the Veiled Chaos does it for you. Oh yeah. I guess you're right, all the quality benches are gone. So that's definitely getting changed. Yeah, how do the talismans work? They just have like a rare, like a talisman only implicit. That's all I really noticed when I was messing with them when I was doing Betrayal. Yeah, same. I'm really curious what they switch those up for. Whole lot of live people. Yeah, that's what I figured. That's what it looked like when the couple that I got.
Welcome to the annual.
Alright, so this is a major leak.
Meet Displate Lumino.
Video on what's
This
been
year
going on,
2 roll
what's
the
going
best
to go on
mods.
in the future. I have some cool, exciting announcements, as well as answer some common questions like, DM, are you going to be playing in Zizzarin's Gauntlet? So watch this video all the way through, because it's sort of a wrapping up consolidation of...
Oh. 1 month ago. Oh, this is the
Let's
one.
talk about my plans for Path of Exile going forward on this channel. First of all, I'm starting back to streaming Path of...
I'm not gonna lie, I respect the hustle, but DM will make videos on the dumbest shit just to get money. Like, it's ridiculous that he does a 5-minute video just talking about what he plans on doing, gets 18,000 views, which is on a 5-minute video like $60 probably.
of Exile live every day starting now. So in the link down below, if you want to go back to the Path of Exile streams, they will be there. Point number 2, I am actually flying to LA. As of the 17th, I will be flying in. The 18th is an event. I will be flying back that same day. And on the 21st, the embargo ends, and we will have information for you. What am I flying to for? Well, LA, there's an event going on for Path of Exile 2, in which not only do I get to do an interview, but I also get to actually play the game. So I will have first-hand experience of Path of Exile 2, and I will be available to answer your guys' questions about my experience. Speaking of experience, if you come by the live stream today, I could use your help in order to determine what questions I should be asking about Path of Exile 2 for the interview, as well as what you guys want to see recorded.
That's a secret tip, by the way, when you watch some of my videos, because I end up talking really slow when I'm recording. Put that shit on like 1.25.
Things like
my videos sound so much better sped up.
Are there certain skills you want to see tested? I will have a few hours, and so if you want to hone down on really knowing questions about Path of Exile 2, answer that your particular...
Yeah, I don't watch too many of DM's videos, but I'm just looking for short videos to fill the time, because we got 12 minutes left.
When I fly to LA. In terms of this channel, going into the season launch on the 29th, we're going to be receiving the PoE 1 season launch, and we're also getting news as to what is coming in this season on the 21st. They will be doing a live stream. I will be co-streaming that as well, and you're welcome to watch my sort of reaction through that if you want. But also, they've been consistently showing on Twitter little quality of life updates, things like being able to immediately transfer currencies, things like we can actually corrupt...
Is Domino's actually tracking my pizza? This is what we should have watched.
Look pretty good. So you can look at their Twitter.
Imagine that to watch later.
All of those as well. So the launch of the season is looking like it might be pretty good going into it. And because of that, what I'm planning to do is on the 29th, I'm going to be doing a...
Yeah, thank you, Selena.
I'm going to be doing very, very, very long stream, potentially like a week-long type of situation with no breaks. And the reason for that being...
It's funny because when I edit the videos, unless I remember making like a very large mistake, I listen to it on like 1.5 to 2 times speed as I'm just like going through it. And every single time I do it, I'm like, man, these videos are so much better when I speed them up.
During this league,
and when I slow them down, I'm like, oh god, this drags.
Journey, you know, my plan was to kill hardcore solo self-found Shaper. I got 2 Void Stones, which was the farthest I've gone hardcore solo self-found, and being this was my first season really of doing hardcore and solo self-found, I felt pretty good about that. We were able to get Either down, we were able to get Exarch down, we were able to get Elder, I think, down as well. So we were able to get some of these down that I felt pretty proud about, if I'm being honest, for kind of my first go at it, and we did that with a Bone Shatter build. Now, going into Season 29, it is going to be hardcore solo self-found once again right from the get-go, and between now and then, I'll be preparing my build, maybe doing some practice runs, trying to figure out what the plan is during the subathon in order for me to do it hopefully all in one.
Alright. Yeah, it starts to tell you how your pizza's feeling. Your pizza is apathetic right now. Your pizza is excited for the journey. Is this the best skill for Sanctum? Is that Penance?
In short, headhunter requirement, single-digit FPS, and a few other things were my major issues. So after realizing those problems, which is an incredibly strong transfigure gem, and the main skill is Penance Brand of Dissipation, which is an incredibly
and yeah, it is very good for Sanctum.
I spend around 10 to 20 divines to get the build going, because I don't like jumping into it with a 50 to 100 divine budget. It's a total glass cannon, so I highly recommend not doing this build if you want to win every single Sanctum and also suck at doing gameplay mechanics. Still, I want to talk about it because
that's kind of cool though. The sound of cutting paper though is just so good. Cutting through cardboard or pretty thick cardboard paper with scissors. That's where it's at. That's ASMR right there.
Should Ubers really be that easy? Let me give you a brief overview of the build, because I have a little surprise in the next section of the video. This is an Occultist Power Charge Stacker with Penance Brand of Dissipation. It's a total glass cannon with barely 2.7k life.
This, because I usually go Witch to start when I play SRS, so I can go into Cast on Crit Ice Spear eventually, because I have to do that every league. I love that build. But if he's doing this on Occultist, and I can already go Occultist, well, we have to see what they do to Penance Brand. Hey, what up, Frizz? Because you know they're gonna nerf. You know they're gonna nerf Penance Brand at some point. It's just how far down they nerf it.
And any fizz hit above 3.7k will delete it from Rayclass. The build roughly revolves around these unique items. We got Void Battery and Malachi's Loop to give us more max power charges on top of a bunch of more.
Hey, what up, Corp?
Then we have Diala's Malefaction to give our Penance Brand skill another +2 levels. So
yeah, it's not a matter of if it gets nerfed, it's a matter of if it gets nuked, like Corp said.
Not get nerfed, and makes us think we have max charges all the time. Badge of the Brotherhood gives us max frenzy charges equal to our power charges, and then we got 2 Call of the Brotherhood, which
Do a lot of builds still use Void Battery? I remember when Void Battery and Malachi's Loop were like stupid popular. I think Ritual League was the league I played, and there was like 3 builds. There was like a I know Blade Vortex used this a lot. There was something else too that was super popular. I guess Blade Vortex is still pretty popular. I know there was a ghost hunting build with Blade Vortex people really liked. Yeah, I feel you, Dane. You can always play standard. A lot of people play standard. A surprising amount of people still play standard.
more max power charges on top of a bunch of more spell damage. Then we have Diala's Malefaction to give our Penance Brand skill another +2 levels, so it does more damage. I've stopped, but I felt this video was missing something. It felt incomplete. I played through the entire story without leveling gear or unique items, and only used the currency I got from playing this character. You can imagine a league start. I'm going to break the 4th wall here and look at my notes. The damage was solid. Well, up to a certain level at least. I thankfully did get a +1 scepter and had a +1 shield from earlier, so I somewhat stayed ahead of. I played through the entire story without leveling gear or unique items, and only used the currency I got from playing this character.
That's his surprise, that he started the league like he played this character like how everyone starts a league, with only using the currency you find through the story and having no leveling gear. It's quite the flex. I did what 130,000 people do every 3 to 4 months. 5 minutes, I guess we can turn it on.
For 2 hours.
I'm good, man. What are you up to? Other than watching the stream, anything fun? Let me make myself a little smaller. I hate people that are on stream and they're like, wow, this stuff's so cool, look at it. Yeah, at least last Epoch was fun. I was having a lot of fun with last Epoch until I missed. I failed 7 50-50 rolls in a row. And it wasted all my gold and everything. And failed every single 50-50. And I was like, okay, screw this shit. I was like, I need to take a break. And that was like 4 days ago. And then I played a little bit of Diablo 4, just because Charge Barbarian is mad fun to me. I love just plowing from pack to pack. It was I was at like 200 or 300 corruption, but it was I just needed a certain one affix to roll. I had a 2 legendary potential item, and I just needed one affix, which is damage while wielding a bow, and it might have been 6, not 7, but either way, it was at least 6. 6 times on a 2 LP item. It would not take that mod. And I even think I was doing it on my Necro, or my Lich, whatever it was. The Lich with the, that was using the Vampiric Pool Bug. So, and he was pushing like 600 corruption. So it was just the shittiest luck in the world. Yeah, for sure. Oh, this is an ad targeting fail. I don't even own a cat. Yeah, I was buying the LP items. Not really, Des. It was fun for a lot of people. It got old for me really fast because I got tired of juicing really early, but it was like the best thing to do. So I felt like, well, I don't really want to juice, but if I do anything else, I feel like I'm wasting my time. And I hate that feeling. Yeah, the hammers look fun. Get that good old D2 nostalgia. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Yeah, it's a down, Donnie.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Welcome to our live stream. We have a busy lineup today with announcements for Path of Exile 2, as well as the exclusive reveal of Path of Exile Necropolis,
is the audio good?
Which launches on March 29th. For the first time ever, we'll be releasing this expansion simultaneously on all platforms, PC, Mac, and console. Twitch drops are enabled on today's livestream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your suffering back attachment.
Sweet.
Today's stream will start with Path of Exile 2, where Jonathan will show you our latest announcements.
Oh,
Will then take you on a
yeah, they
deep
did that
dive
last
into the
time,
new
didn't
Path of
they?
Exile Necropolis Challenge League, which launches in 1 week. He'll cover the league mechanics, its deep crafting system, large in-game changes, some improvements to the core Path of Exile campaign, and finally some quality of life features. We'll then show you our new supporter packs, and we'll head into a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask us your questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes.
Hey guys, it's time to chat about PoE 2 again. It's only been a few months since we talked about the Mercenary, and yet even since then a huge amount has changed. When we announced the Mercenary, we also showed off a lot of the new capabilities that our engine has around animation and character control. Moving while shooting was a huge deal in that class, but there were a lot of other more subtle things going on to make it feel good.
Did he say patch notes are coming out?
Well, in recent times we've only been showing off new character classes, but one thing I've been really excited about is to go back and apply all the new ideas and capabilities.
I was too busy spinning my wheels on what the campaign improvements could be.
Today I'd like to show off the
Like,
range
only
of
have to do
I hope you
ascendancies
guys
once,
like what you see.
and then all new characters get their ascendancy points unlocked. No, that'd be cheap as hell. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, damn, after the stream? Hell yeah.
I've lived in this forest all my life. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that a ranger must never miss.
The Wildwood?
But it is the cruelty of man.
If she buys corpses off that guy, I'm gonna lose my shit.
There is no truly escaping the Count's justice.
Your sentence is to be hanged from the neck until dead. Let your souls feed the first ones, and your bodies feed the land. After her!
They didn't tie the noose right? You had one job.
This exile has changed me. No more running. No more fear.
You won't get away this time.
Oh shit.
I will put an end to this madness.
Oh, she's got a mount. And she can shoot from the mount? That was dope.
Let this be a warning, Gianor. I'm coming for you next.
Ah, shit.
Let the hunt begin.
When we started to work on the Ranger, we knew we had to make a class with high agility. The dream of fast bow gameplay is Legolas, so that's what we wanted to deliver. The starting point is moving while shooting a bow. Any kind of basic arrow skill can be fired while moving, with a movement penalty. This immediately gives you a lot more freedom on the battlefield. Here, I'm starting each battle with a poison burst arrow to poison groups of enemies, then using a lightning arrow to arc
I
lightning around
turned ads off.
For even more mobility,
So you might want to refresh the stream to make sure they don't come up.
around the battlefield too.
But hopefully it just took effect, even if you're still watching.
Using it jumps backwards and shoots a freezing arrow at the ground. Really useful if monsters close on you and you need to get away. Once you've landed, if monsters were frozen, it'd be nice to have some way to take advantage of that extra time. This is where Snipe comes in. Snipe is a skill shot that you need to charge up and release at exactly the right time.
Beta in June, full release probably around Christmas, is my guess. But they didn't say.
And does a small AoE as well, so it's a great finisher. You can also move while shooting arrow rain skills too. This skill is Lightning Rod. It shoots an arrow into the air that sticks into the ground and does a small AoE. Once the rods are in the ground though, they attract any arcs of lightning that are nearby, causing them to explode again. This means you can stack up a bunch of lightning rods on the ground and bounce lightning between them, doing way more damage. Now this takes care of packs pretty well, but for bigger enemies I'd like to have something that's going to enhance my damage output too.
They increased the run speed.
Stormcaller arrow. Using it sticks an arrow into an enemy. After a
For
short period
sure.
of time, a lightning bolt
The characters are
comes from the
definitely
sky
running
and strikes
faster.
them.
Or at least she
This
is.
has a high chance to shock them, and shocked enemies take 30% more damage from all sources. If something big walks along, it's a good idea to throw one of these at them first to enhance your damage before following up with the other combo. Now if I really want to enhance this combo, there are a couple of things I could do using our support gem system. Skills in Path of Exile are granted by items called skill gems. Each skill gem has coloured sockets in it, and these sockets are for other items called support gems. Support gems modify your skills, and it's where a huge amount of the customization of your character comes from. First, I'm going to take this multiple projectile support gem. I could add it to my lightning arrow, and it would fire multiple arrows. This would increase the number of targets I can hit, but that isn't the effect that I'm after. If I add it to my lightning rod skill instead, then when I fire it, I get a nice group of rods. This means that I don't have to spend as much time setting up before I can use it with my lightning arrow combo.
Yeah, you get that group of rods.
I might also add faster projectiles to make the lightning rods land faster too. Now next up I'm going to grab this chain support gem. Chaining causes many effects to repeat on new targets when you hit them. If I add it to my lightning arrow, it will cause the arcs that come out of lightning arrow to strike even more targets, rippling along my line of lightning rods for huge amounts of damage. Now I think we can use support gems to improve Stormcaller arrow as well. Let's start simple. I'm going to chuck less duration on here. This will cause the lightning from the sky to strike a bit faster. Next up we have a support called Shock Proliferation. This support makes it so that any enemies shocked by the skill will also have the shock jump to nearby enemies, meaning they'll take the extra damage as well. It's just a chance to proc, so it's not going to proc on every single pack, but when it does, a pack will go down ultra quick. Another useful empowering skill is Barrage. Barrage is one of the rare cool.
They're just showing off this lightning rod skill and teaching people what support gems do.
With what we have here, I think it might be a good idea to use it with lightning arrow. It'll generate 3 times as many lightning.
She had a mount that she was riding that she could shoot from. That was probably the coolest thing I've seen.
Just the right moment with snipe, or any number of other skills depending on what effect you need more of right now. It's very versatile and can be used in a range of situations. Now, even as mobile as the Ranger is, it's still very useful to slow monsters down, and a Ranger certainly has quite a few tools to do this. If you're prepared to get up close and personal, we have a skill called Electrocuting Rod. First, jump over the enemy and shoot it into them. Once the rod's in place, any lightning damage they take will build up a special electrocute gauge. Once the gauge is full, the monster is totally suppressed, allowing you to kill them easily.
That's pretty cool.
Now sometimes when you use Electrocuting Rod, the enemy dies before you get a chance to electrocute them. I think there's another support gem I could add to my lightning arrow to fix this problem. Neural Overload will make it easier to electrocute enemies. If the skill it's attached to puts them over 50% of their electrocute bar, it will trigger instantly.
I know, right?
Now this skill works really well for suppressing a single large enemy, but I'd like to improve my crowd control ability for groups as well. I'm going to add a support gem called Frozen Nexus to my Frost Escape. This makes an area of chilled ground around frozen enemies. I'll also add Deep Freeze to it as well, which will make the freezes last a bit longer. Now when I use my Frost Escape on that front enemy, others nearby are slowed down. It would also be good if I had a way to slow enemies down when they're farther away from me as well. So this would be a great time to start getting into the Ranger's poison and plant-based skill set. To start with, let's have a look at Vine Arrow. This skill fires an arrow into the air that creates a small plant where it lands. The plant sends out tendrils to nearby enemies, slowing them down and poisoning them. But it does have another function too. If the plant gets further poison, it transfers that poison to the monsters it's attached to. Normally you would only be able to get 1 stack of poison on a monster at a time, but you can put as much poison as you want on this plant. You could just use the plant to slow monsters down and not worry about the poison part. But if you want to go all in on poison, this is the way to do it. Now if you do want to focus on poisons more, another useful skill is Poison Bloom Arrow. This skill creates these plant pustules on the ground. If you wait a little while, they'll explode.
Plant mines.
Just like any other plant skill, these plants respond well to poison. Shoot the poison burst arrow at enemies nearby and watch your plants grow more and more powerful. Poisoning the pustules causes them to do much more damage and makes them explode much faster as well. I can also add the Pierce support to Poison Burst Arrow. Doing this will mean I get multiple poison bursts as it goes through each monster. We also have another skill to make a nice environment for your plants to grow.
Galvanic Arrow.
This skill shoots the ground and creates a cloud of gas that continuously poisons things inside it. Throw your plants down, then put a gas cloud on top. The constant poisoning will make them grow.
Oh no, I think I tuned the gold out of my brain.
Another poison-related skill.
That was interesting, the way gems transfer to your inventory when you pull them out.
When I enable it, I get this counter that counts up whenever I apply poison to a monster. You can see the counter on the skill increasing as each new monster is poisoned. Now I'm going to fight these monsters and make sure to poison them.
Oh my god, move this down here. Move these down here. Please, for the love of God. Why is it still up in the upper left? You know how annoying that is to look up at that?
To get the counter up to 100%, but it's worth it. Whenever I choose, I can unleash the poison in a big explosion around my character, dealing a large amount of damage. Now next up we have a classic, Rain of Arrows. It's simple. Shoot a bunch of arrows in the sky and they rain down for a short time. It's decent AoE and damage at long range. Now this skill doesn't last too long, but we can change that. It's time to introduce Frenzy Charges. Frenzy Charges are used for a variety of skills on the Ranger, but with Rain of Arrows they can be used to extend the duration. How do we get some though? Here we have a skill called Sniper's Mark. Put it on an enemy and it will grant
Sniper's Mark
when you crit them. Now remember that snipe skill from earlier? That skill guarantees a critical hit. So first we Sniper's Marked an enemy, then we sniped them. And after that, the next Rain of Arrows will last a really, really long time. We still have some weaknesses though. While Rain of Arrows hits enemies with a ton of arrows, each one doesn't do much damage individually. It would be nice if we had a way to break the armor on enemies so that Rain of Arrows dealt more damage. Thankfully, we have this Corrode Armor support gem, and we can put it on our Gas Cloud arrow. Corrode Armor causes poison to erode the armor on targets until it's all gone. This will significantly increase the damage that Rain of Arrows does against armored targets. Oh yeah, and one more thing about gas clouds. They can be detonated with explosions. I have an explosive arrow here. Let's check it out.
That's dope. I like that.
Now, because monsters and gas clouds are likely to have their armor broken, I think there's another useful combo we can do. This is an Exploit Weakness support. This support provides extra bonus damage to targets that have their armor broken. Perfect for what we have going on here. So, those are just some of the skills we have on the Ranger class in Path of Exile 2. Now that we've seen all these skills, let's see how well they do against a much tougher enemy. It's time to fight the boss of the temples, Thanos.
Thanos or Thanos? Thanos. Yeah, keep in mind he's using all skill gems with like one link. He's just trying to show off a whole bunch of different skills. I'm sure we'll have one or two skills that we're more invested in at this point that do a lot more damage. Using like 4 or 5 different skills constantly is never the quickest way to kill something in a Path of Exile game. Like, you could literally just spam what he just did there. That move. It's gonna show the loot drop. God, be like 4 or 5 items, don't be like 2. It just dropped gold? What the fuck was that? That better not be common.
Oh yeah, there was one more thing.
They better have turned off drops because they didn't want to show off anything unnecessarily.
Yes, you can ride a rower. While riding the rower, you
Yeah,
can
here
shoot
we go.
arrows with no movement penalty. It's pretty overpowered. You can also use your vaulting skills to jump right off the rower's back. Once the rower doesn't have a rider, it starts attacking monsters, so he's nice to have around, even if you're not riding him. That
That's
said,
dope.
if you are riding, don't get hit. If you take a heavy stun while on a rower, you'll fall off, and it takes a while to get up, so be careful. So that's what we wanted to show you today. Now there is just one more rather unfortunate bit of news. Path of Exile 2's beta is going to be delayed. We previously said that we would get the beta out on June 7th, and while I think we would be able to get the game's content ready in time, we underestimated how long it would take to get gameplay polished to a standard that we're happy with. We're still going to be doing alpha testing in June, but we're going to be delaying the beta until later in the year. I don't have an exact date for you today, but it should be towards the end of the year. In the meantime, you can still play Path of Exile 1, of course. Now, speaking of PoE 1, we also have the 3.24 expansion to announce. I'm going to hand over to Mark, the game director on PoE 1, to show us what's in store.
We had a lot of fun making this one, so let's just get straight into it with the trailer for Path of Exile Necropolis.
Alright, let's just forget he said that. Still PoE 1 time. It'll come out when it comes out.
Cold flesh, dirt,
Oh, hi, Mark.
and ghosts. Our job is to keep them where they belong. It's your first night, so you'll need this. A ghostly lantern for ghastly tinkering.
Ooh, what was that?
You'll learn to peer into the souls of the dead. You'll learn how to twist them.
Ooh.
Meet me in the necropolis. You can pilfer shiny things from a corpse, but you can pilfer glorious things from a soul. I need a gravedigger.
Oh shit. Oh shit! Let's fucking go! Multiple passive trees, fucking finally. Yep. Cortex. Sanctum.
The job's hard, but the pay's good. What do you say?
And yeah, scarabs have been reworked. He said that's what
In
that
the
new scarab
Necropolis
was in
League, you will
inventory.
encounter Undertaker Aramor, a man collecting the scattered spirits of the Eternal Empire for a mysterious purpose. These spirits have begun to haunt the monsters of Rayclast, unleashing their ancient fury and sorrow onto the world. The Undertaker will provide you with the Lantern of Aramor, a powerful family heirloom which
Ah,
can
they just look
illuminate
similar.
the wrathful spirits haunting monsters throughout Rayclast. With it, the Undertaker hopes to employ you to rid Rayclast of this menace, and further his cryptic cause. The lantern can be used when entering any new area. When peering through it, you can examine the spirits haunting that area. The lantern also allows you to manipulate them, letting you configure which monsters are affected by which mods. It would be wise to take your time with your decisions here, for the spirits are not forgiving. When peering through the lantern, you can also see extra details about the packs of monsters in the area. Rowers here are considered common, whereas the water elementals are more scarce. If you want things to be easier, you can put the more difficult spirits on the elementals, which you'll encounter less often. We've tried to make sure that by engaging with the lantern, you are able to intelligently control the difficulty in the Necropolis League. The spirits come in a number of forms which represent the danger they pose. For example here, the infested vultures are servant haunted, causing them to deal a small amount of increased damage. But the Vol's vanguard are noble haunted, causing them to deal a large amount of increased damage. As you reach higher level areas in Rayclast, the tier and number of spirits that are haunting monsters will generally increase. Your game knowledge can help you here. If you're aware of the composition of a monster pack,
Oh yes, it does work in the regular league. Like it's not just in Necropolis, the lantern. It works throughout the campaign.
Damage for every monster killed has no effect on packs with a single monster, like a Devourer. However, if we found a spirit that makes the strongest monster in a pack deal 100% more damage, well, I'm going to avoid the Devourer. You might have noticed that the Lantern of Aramor provides other useful information, such as the types of abilities monsters use, or the damage types they deal. So for those who are less familiar with how these monsters work, this can be a great way to learn what you're up against.
Oh yeah, for every single fucking area, I want to make sure my resistance to that is hyped. That's exactly what I'm gonna do.
And peer through the lantern again to see what's changed. Of course, powerful spirits beget powerful rewards. There are two reasons why you might want to face a challenge now and then. Firstly, not all the spirits are malicious. Sometimes the monsters aren't haunted at all, but are instead devoted. These can grant basic rewards like increased experience, or bigger rewards like spawning the Nameless Seer, an NPC that will grant you a single unique item after you defeat all of the packs.
So they're bringing him
by that
back.
spirit. The more haunted monsters you defeat in the previous area before using the lantern, the more likely the devoted monsters will appear in the next area. Monsters haunted by higher tier spirits will increase the chance of the devoted appearing even more, meaning that sometimes it's worth putting the hardest modifier possible on very common monsters, if you're brave enough. Again, we've tried hard here to allow players to customize the danger and rewards as much as they can.
That experience
Aramor
boost
is
though.
an Undertaker, and you can probably guess what we're taking to him. The second main reward from the Necropolis League is monsters with unresolved anguish. Once slain, their corpses need extra care from the Undertaker, and he will offer to take them back to his necropolis and store them in the morgue. Time to earn your keep. When you are ready, you can visit the morgue to view the monsters you have collected, and then get to work burying them in one of many graves in Aramor's cemetery. For example, we will bury this Katava's Herald. Aramor's mysterious soul experiments can coalesce powerful items. Here I've chosen to create a pair of boots.
With a speed modifier.
These boots are useful for my character, but aren't exactly what I hoped for. And this is where the Necropolis crafting system really shines. You'll have noticed that
So instead of a horticrafting bench,
effect
it's
on it. In fact, all collected corpses do. If you bury multiple corpses in the cemetery, all adjacent corpses can be exercised at once to create one item. All of the crafting effects on those corpses will apply to that same item.
holy
This allows you to have
shit.
either one or many different crafting projects ongoing in the cemetery.
Holy shit, that is strong as
Try to create
fuck.
boots, I could bury corpses that increase the chance of getting move speed modifiers. To go further, I could use these to generate
That is
higher tier
strong
modifiers.
as hell.
Then, I could try to bias it towards being an evasion pair with this. Finally, I'll apply some crafting effects that improve the probability of getting good rolls. Now, let's craft our item and see what we get.
Holy shit. That is so powerful.
As you can see now, we have a much better pair of boots, forged from the souls of our enemies.
That is
You
cool.
can use the entire cemetery to craft one item. There is always something you can do to try and ensure your item will be as best as it can be. We hope to see some really crazy grave crafts. If you are lucky,
Show
you
him!
might find
Oh,
crafts
you
with
dick.
better crafting
What a
modifiers.
dick. He's a
It's very
dick. I don't
varied
like
to
him. He's a dick.
manipulate your crafting projects in more drastic ways. This one increases the potency of all crafting effects of adjacent undead corpses. Another meta crafting modifier gives a chance to drop an extra item from your craft, with all the same crafting outcomes applied. All you have to do is bury a lot of undead monsters.
So it'll drop 2 of them? Is that what it's saying?
You can also craft new unique items exclusive to the Necropolis League using this system. As you explore Rayclast, you might find the
What?
corpses of famous Eternal Empire families. And when you bury an entire family together and exorcise them, they will thank you with a unique specific to their lineage. For example, the Navalius Inheritance Belt. I'll give you a moment to check that out.
Increase less spectration, plus years.
You can use other corpses alongside
So it
them
makes
to
you a
grant explicit
Pathfinder?
mods, manipulate
less
the values
effect?
of explicit
I don't
mods,
know.
and more. In this case, with the Parandus Pact, you can even change the modifiers
Large
it
radius.
generates. This unique is a jewel which adds extra stats to passive skills in a radius when socketed into the passive skill tree. The stats it adds are randomly generated, but you can bias it towards a specific type by using other crafting effects, such as this one, which increases the chance of getting life modifiers.
Oh man.
Let's see what we get.
Tell me it's gonna give him a jewel where each passive gives like 30 health or something ridiculous.
Damn, we didn't get it this time. I guess we're gonna have to go and collect more corpses. Of course, you can trade the corpses away to other players.
That might help
All you
me
need to do is
for
purchase
my
some
cast iron
coffins
grip
from
build.
the Undertaker and use them on your corpses in the morgue, which will itemize them.
You can sell him?
Another item in the Necropolis League that you can find
Can
are
you trade 'em?
Embers of the All-Flame. These are monster spirits that remain living in the All-Flame, a powerful ancient artifact of Rayclast. And you can set them free by placing them in the Lantern of Aramor and defeating them. These embers drop throughout Rayclast as itemized packs of monsters. You are able to use these packs to replace the packs in areas. For example, we have found this All-Flame Ember of Tarfor. We can now go to enter the
And drop
next area
tattoos.
and replace one of the monster packs in here. You can see we have also gotten one of the devoted modifiers to appear. We can pair up the Karui ancestors with this modifier, making them even more rewarding. Let's go ahead and replace the tentacle miscreations. However, when replacing packs, you want to double check their density, as the new pack will inherit the density of the replaced pack. The Karui ancestors we have now added to our area can even drop basic variations of tattoos. If you aren't aware,
Variations.
this is an item type from the Trial of the Ancestors League, which can be used on passive
I don't
skills
remember
to
what it
change
was
they do.
before, if 4% is the same or not.
There are many different types of itemized packs. You can find Breach and Legion monsters that drop splinters, Untainted packs that provide insane amounts of experience, and even simple frogs, which can be used to replace difficult monsters to make life easier. And of course,
They were still
these
kinda
new
fucking you up
monsters
though,
can be
dude.
raised as specters too. Finally, let's discuss how this league
Raise
works in in-game
specters.
maps. Each in-game map will allow you to manipulate it using the lantern on the map device UI. However, instead of randomly cycling every few minutes, it is fixed to that map. Once you view the map through the lantern, you cannot remove it from the map device, so you can't trade that map away now that you've seen it as too difficult for you, or has monsters in it that you'd rather avoid, like porcupines. We're also trying something new this time around.
Mm-mm.
During the Necropolis League, there will be support for the League on the Atlas passive tree.
Really?
Multiple clusters will be there, allowing you to enhance the gameplay, customize it, and even change its behavior in meaningful ways.
Wow.
One way that you can change the crafting in a meaningful
That's a good
way
idea.
is with the Prospero's Wager Keystone. With this keystone, all the monsters with unresolved anguish come with this crafting modifier, which causes them to generate a random craft when buried. This means instead of pre-planning your crafts, you have to adapt to them on the fly to get the best results. These clusters will not be available in Standard League.
That doesn't...
In 3.24, we've made
That doesn't seem better.
changes to the endgame. We're introducing new bosses, adding another tier of maps, and streamlining the Atlas. The most difficult and most rewarding content in Path of Exile can be found in Uber Pinnacle bosses, such as the Maven and the Searing Exarch. Currently, the only way to access these bosses is by allocating specific keystones on the Atlas passive tree. While this system offers a nice element of control, it causes a problem. Rewards and access to the non-Uber variants are now economically priced around the rewards of the Uber fights. This means it is wasteful to run the non-Uber variants instead of simply selling them.
How are you fixing it?
Another problem that we noticed is the difficulty jump between the Pinnacle and Uber Pinnacle content was relatively large, and there wasn't obvious content that could bridge this gap. Many players would give up on their characters before being able to defeat the Uber Pinnacle bosses. In 3.24, we will be making some changes to this. We are removing the keystones that give access to the Uber Pinnacle bosses from the Atlas tree, and instead we'll be adding a new set of fragments that give you access to this content. Where do you get these fragments? We are adding a new tier of maps, Tier 17 maps, which not only give you access to the Uber Pinnacle content, but also test your characters in new ways. They feature a new set of bosses, Uber monsters, and a new tier of modifiers that can roll on the maps. There are 5 new Tier 17 maps in total, with some surprising boss fights at the end. We'll look at a couple today, and the rest you'll have to discover for yourself. First, we have the Citadel map. This map contains an ancient Kalguran citadel. You will encounter many expedition monsters as the signature packs throughout the map. At the end, you will fight Uber Uhtred. This is a version of a boss from Expedition League, with all its abilities and mechanics enhanced. Uber Uhtred will even be able to summon 2 other expedition bosses to aid it during the fight. Secondly, we have the Fortress map. This map is an impregnable fortress
there he is.
guarded by monsters from the Heist League.
Yep.
At the end, you will
You're right,
encounter
Corp.
an Uber version of the Unbreakable. Again, it has enhanced abilities and mechanics you'll have to learn and overcome. Each of the Tier 17 map bosses has a chance to drop a unique item, allowing for some target farming. However, these aren't entirely new unique items. Instead, we've taken other unique items, removing them from the core drop pool, and rebalancing them to fit here. One example is this reworked version of Wraith Lord. It has 4 Abyss sockets, and allows you to summon an additional Spectre for each Ghastly Eye jewel socketed into it. Another example is Mana Sword.
Wow.
This
Gazzy's
is
just
to grant a lot
fucking...
more damage than before,
is gonna have to watch the rest of the
alongside
stream with
somewhat
an erection
impactful mana
now.
stats, if you can get lucky rolls. Alongside adding Tier 17 maps, we have also changed the Uber Pinnacle bosses to have completely distinct unique item drop pools from their non-Uber counterparts. This means there is a reason to farm both versions.
Thank God.
Let's take a look at the Shaper versus the Uber Shaper. The Shaper will drop these uniques: Voidwalker, Shaper's Touch, Solstice Vigil, and Dying Sun. Whereas the Uber Shaper will drop these: Echoes of Creation, Sublime Vision, Entropic Devastation, Starforge, and a new unique belt called the Tides of Time. Another
Pathfinder.
example of a new unique is this helmet from the Uber Eater of Worlds, Ravenous Passion, and these gloves from the Uber Searing Exarch, the Celestial Brace. Each of the Uber Pinnacle bosses has a new unique added to their drop pools.
Meh.
We've identified another major problem with the endgame we'd like to address. With every expansion added to the game, we have been increasing the complexity of running maps. It's at the point now where a player must repeatedly execute a large sequence of steps to run maps efficiently. it can be easy to forget critical steps, and it can be tiring to repeat them. To solve this, we are removing some systems, but are keeping what is good about them. The two main systems we've removed are Sextants and the Master Mission Selector.
They are getting rid of Sextants.
It is not
Fuck.
our intention to dull the content, however. We have completely reworked Scarabs to include most of the options that were previously covered by those mechanics, and many, many more. Let's take a look at some of them. Commonly, you might find Scarabs that simply grant access to different content. Here, we have a Scarab that causes Beyond Demons to spawn when killing monsters in your maps. And here, we have one that adds a Delirium Mirror. Each type of Scarab now has multiple versions, so if you want to fully invest in a type of content, you can do so. Here's a suite of Ultimatum Scarabs. This Ultimatum Scarab adds an Ultimatum
They added a new tier.
This Ultimatum Scarab of Bribing then causes that Ultimatum encounter to grant better rewards and its monsters to yield more experience. This Ultimatum Scarab of Dueling will cause that Ultimatum encounter to always guarantee the Trial Master boss fight at the end, assuming you can survive through all the rounds. This Ultimatum Scarab of Catalyzing will cause all rewards from that Ultimatum to be catalysts, instead of other rewards. And finally, this Ultimatum Scarab of Inscription will cause all catalyst rewards from that Ultimatum to be inscribed ultimatums instead. There are plenty of others. If you enjoy divination card farming, you might want to use these.
Yeah, the 5 slot will be hell important.
Scarab of Curation causes more divination cards to drop for each different favored map you have selected. But it also causes whatever map you're running to only drop divination cards from those favored maps. So if you want to try and aim for your Mage Blood and don't want to just farm Crimson Temple, then this Scarab is for you.
Oh, dope.
This Divination Scarab of Completion causes your divination cards to have a 20% chance to drop as a full stack instead.
Holy shit. Damn.
There are now just a lot of Scarabs. You might have also noticed that they no longer have tiers.
Drop an Apothecary. The first week in the league, it drops his ball.
Some might be rarer than others, but the intention is that there will be a lot more options than before, and more interesting combinations to consider. If you want to target specific Scarabs, Betrayal has been updated to include most of them, and you will need to relearn which ones come from where. While this system is allowing you to heavily invest in one type of content, it is reducing your capacity for variety. To address this, we have massively increased access to content on the Atlas passive tree. You are now able to reliably get different leagues like Breach or Legion from just your Atlas passives. Regarding Master Missions, content such as Incursion, Delve, Betrayal, and Bestiary, these too are now accessible with Scarabs, and have more reliable investment options on the tree. Not only this, you can now get Jun, Einhar, Alva, and Nico to appear together in the same map. We have also removed some keystones such as Wandering Path, Grand Design, and Growing Hordes, but have added some new ones.
Oh, they got rid of Growing
For
Hordes.
example,
What they were changed it to?
Vision, Back to Basics,
You mentioned
and Thorough Exploration.
Final boss maps
We have
are...
added some new
Well,
nodes,
that's
such as
shitty.
Remarkable Relics, which allows you to try find better variants of Scarabs. Mounting Modifiers, which increases the values of modifiers on your maps by 2% for each explicit modifier. And Tainted Carapaces, which is just one in a set of many that allow you to target farm specific types
Oh,
of
that's
Scarabs.
cool.
These are just a few of the many new notables that can be found
That
on
is a
the Atlas
great
passive
idea.
skill tree. Lastly, we are giving you more flexibility in what content you want to run in the endgame. In 3.24, you can now have multiple copies of the Atlas tree, which can be swapped between maps at your leisure. You can unlock up to 2 extra trees for a total of 3 by progressing through the endgame and completing core content. When you open a map, you can select which tree you would like to use. For a given league, you'll never feel constrained to playing your endgame a single way. You can also label your trees to easily identify which one has which content. With all this combined, we're hoping to see new endgame strategies shine through. While
Oh, I didn't
playing
see
through
it.
the campaign in 3.24, you'll notice
Oh my god, it's too much. We're gonna have to watch this again.
The fundamentals of the campaign are still intact, but we've scattered fun encounters and secrets throughout Rayclast. The Dweller of the Deep has been trapped. What are these ritual shrines doing in the northern forest? And why are they giving me omens? This device looks safe. I should definitely use this on my items. There are plenty more encounters to discover. We'll continue adding more surprises in future releases, so keep an eye out.
So they're adding more leaked content to the
previous
campaign.
Expansion 3.23, we released a large number of transfigured skill gems. These are alternate versions of existing skill gems that function in very different ways, allowing for more build and gameplay variety. At the time, our aspirations were higher than
What
we
was
could
that,
achieve.
Cyclone?
We planned more gems than we could make. So, in 3.24, we're adding another set of transfigured gems that we have now finished. Ice Shot, Incinerate, Artillery Ballista, Tornado, Elemental Hit, Kinetic Blast, Poisonous Concoction, and lastly, Summon Holy Relic. Hopefully those of you who missed your favorite skill having a transfigured variant will get that here. We will certainly be adding more of these in the future, especially for skills that are missing them still. Of course, we'll also be doing a balance pass on the existing transfigured gems. One of the main ones we're looking at is Kinetic Bolt of Fragmentation. As a result of this change, it is clear that the endgame potential of the Wander archetype really starts to suffer, mostly in the single target damage department. Due to this, we've added the new support gem, Sacred Wisps. This support gem causes supported skills to create 2 attached wisps for a duration. With these wisps, whenever you attack, they have a chance to also use the same skill.
Oh,
if you
that's
have
cool.
enemies in your presence.
Familiars.
And if there are any rare or unique enemies, they will always use the skill.
Dope.
That leads us into all the other quality of life features we're introducing in 3.24, and there's a shitload of them.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Many of these have been revealed in teasers already, but here's a quick summary. We've added the automation and call to arms skill gems, for being able to trigger instant skills and war cries without having to bind them to left click. You can now hold down Control and left click to automatically apply certain currency orbs until they achieve the desired result, or you run out. For example, you can hold down fusings until you reach maximum links.
It's
You
that
will be
easy.
able to control, shift, click currency into a trade window to automatically move all of that currency at once from your inventory. Detonate Dead now has clearer telegraphing effects. When harvest crafting, the item hover will always be visible, so you no longer have to mouse back and forth to see the results of your crafts. When you use a Val Orb on a map, the map no longer has a chance to become unidentified.
This is a weird change.
Instead, it adds a new implicit. We've created a set of implicits that affect the areas in fun ways. Related to that, corrupted and mirrored items can now be identified. Breach hands now open upon approach, and no longer need to be clicked. Upgrades to Pantheon powers now apply to all characters in a league. You no longer need to grind Divine Vessels on each new character. With Harvest Crafting, you can now re-roll Uber Elder Fragments.
This is a good one.
Fragments
I like this
dropped
one a
by
lot.
the Shaper cannot be re-rolled into fragments dropped by the Elder, and vice versa. Regarding Betrayal, we're removing Ashling's crafting bench as a reward. Instead, Veiled Orbs now perform that function. They remove a mod and replace it with a Veiled mod. These orbs now drop from Katarina and are no longer a world drop. Flasks can now be corrupted by Val Orbs, giving random -10 to +10 quality. The capability to add extra quality to weapons, armors, and flasks has been removed from Betrayal. The Betrayal bench craft that converts an amulet to a talisman has been moved to Bestiary, and thus can be traded. Maven invitations no longer drop. Instead, when you have completed witnessing all bosses required to go to the Maven's arena, you can just talk to Kerak, and he'll open a map device window with the invitation already in there, ready to be rolled. Valdo's maps that granted invitations now give scarabs. No more having to waste Guardian kills to try get invitations to drop. Next up, we're going to be talking about our new League supporter packs. Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Solar and Eldritch packs.
And I have to buy one of them to
Each
get
tier
that
contains the
$500
full
threshold.
pack's face value in points, alongside several exclusive
I
microtransactions.
think I need to spend like $80
These
to
packs are only
$90, so it might
available
work
for
out
the
perfectly.
duration of the Necropolis League, and will leave the store forever when it ends. As always, the microtransactions in
So
these packs are
hopefully the
purely
first level
cosmetic
one is
and do
really
not affect your
cool.
character's power or progression in any way. The Solar series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Cosmos weapon effect adorns your weapon with stars. Hitting enemies causes cosmic energy to spill out into the area around them. The Radiant Orb of Chance extra effect projects the outcome of items you've used an Orb of Chance on above your head. Remember to congratulate other exiles in town if you see them chance a powerful unique item. Shine boldly with the Solar Knight armor set. The power of the sun radiates from your body,
It's pretty cool.
getting
I
more
like that.
and more intense as you use skills and emitting solar flares as you run. With the Supernova level up extra effect, the dead will be raised from the ground around you, before being obliterated and turned to ash by an epic supernova whenever you level up. This one is my personal favorite. The Cosmic Turtle Hideout lets you travel the infinite expanse of the cosmos atop the back of a
That's pretty
colossal
dope.
turtle. Carry the weight of the sun on your back with the Solar Guardian back attachment. Witness it grow larger
Okay,
and
that
larger
looks stupid.
as the energy of slain enemies is funneled into it. When it reaches its maximum size, it goes supernova and turns into a black hole, forever drifting throughout Rayclast. The Eldritch Pack series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. Are you wondering if we moved the stash in the latest patch? Don't be fooled, because with the Mimic Stash Pet, players can transform into an image of a stash when in a town or hideout and scare unsuspecting exiles. This pet follows behind you with its terrifying
Wow, that's
and
fucking
warning the
terrifying.
rest of
Yeah,
the
you
time.
set up where I could.
The Shaper's Slam finisher effect sends slain unique enemies into a
Final abyss of unending darkness.
The Eldritch Hunger armor set contains a beast that demands you defeat it by embracing your bloodlust. Watch it grow in power the more you kill until it bursts from the shell of the helmet. Are you able to satiate its hunger? The seed within the Corrupted Growth map device expands its grasp on your hideout, the more maps you complete on your atlas. Equipping the Headhunter
That's
character
cool.
effect causes skulls of slain rare enemies to whirl around you like trophies. They become enraged when you are near a rare enemy you are yet to kill, wishing for them to join your collection. Witness a reality where the struggle didn't exist, allowing the Eldritch Horrors to settle their own conflicts with the Eldritch Horror Apparition effect. Which of the Eater of Worlds or Searing Exarch do you think will win? These packs are now available for purchase on both PC and console, and will remain so during Path of Exile Necropolis. Meanwhile, the Shade and Disciple packs leave the store forever at the launch of Necropolis League, so now's your last chance to purchase them. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, we'll post Path of Exile Necropolis' full patch notes. With release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you'll need for Necropolis' release.
Thank God
Keep
it
an
is
eye on
the
news.
29th.
On
Because I already
release
took
date,
off
we
work like
expect
last
to
week,
launch
assuming
the
it was
new mystery
29th.
box and this season's Kerax Vault Pass. Thank you for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to doing some awesome gravecrafts and conquering the new in-game bosses with you next week. We'll begin the Q&A shortly, so please get your questions ready.
Use the bathroom real quick.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Good morning, exiles, and welcome to our Q&A portion for today. I'm joined by Jonathan and Mark, and first thing we're going to be talking about Path of Exile 1 questions. As I know that's the content that you'll be getting your hands on soon and want to hear all about. And then afterwards we'll follow up with a bit of a deep dive into Path of Exile 2 reveals, both from today and also some of the other stuff that came up during the recent hands-on event. But good morning, Jonathan and Mark. How are you going?
Hey, Really nice to be here again.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure. I love talking to you folks about some Path of Exile, right? So let's kick things off with the new league, Necropolis. And I just want to ask, should I ask about Lycia and Katarina and what it means for them to be involved, especially since they're like characters that are actively present elsewhere in the game in another mechanic right now? Like, what does that mean?
We bent the rules a little bit on that teaser. They're not actually involved. They're only in the sense that they are both T17 map bosses. So you don't actually fight them together, but we thought it would make a cool, little teaser shot there, and I think it did. It raised a lot of questions. So yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay. I was like, we're just doing some timey-wimey stuff. Oh, they both kind of like deal with death, so there's a bit of a connection there.
Like when you get into maps, everything's all memories and the line gets a bit blurred. You can kind of do whatever you want, which is a good thing about that system. You don't have to stay so grounded and sensible. But so yeah, we do have some interesting encounters going on there that are a bit different. But it's again the maps allow us to kind of detach from the groundedness of the world and the rules of what's actually happening in there.
It looks like there's a lot of boss stuff coming this league. Is that all focused in the new T17 maps, or is there some with the league mechanic itself as well?
No, we focused the monster development this time round on the T17s instead of the league. So there's no new bosses in the league, but there are some reuse of monsters through like the All Flame Embers and whatnot, but not bosses. And then we put all our boss development towards creating these T17 bosses as well as the monsters. Like there are quite a lot of actual interesting monsters in the T17 maps as well. Like I don't know if people saw, but you can get Brutus as just a monster. Like he's not a boss. There are packs of Brutuses and various
That's cool.
other monsters throughout the non-notable ones, which will be quite interesting to see. You'll probably find a rare hasted Brutus as a whole different level compared to even the Brutus map boss and whatnot. So.
Yes, we experienced that last league in Affliction at launch. For those of us there who empowered that boss. That was an experience to be sure. So we'll kind of change my order of the day then with the tier 17 maps. So there's 4 of these, was there?
We've got 5 of them. We've got the Ziggurat map, Sanctuary map, Fortress map, Abomination map, and Citadel map being the 5.
And these are like effectively Uber maps, but we kind of also had Uber maps last league in a different way with the community made maps as well. But this is a whole different system, right?
Yeah, this is different. Obviously, the Valdo's maps come with a little bit more craziness going on. There are custom mod pools on.
Yeah,
these.
Turtle map looks awesome.
And there is a little bit of overlap,
Turtle
but
hideout.
nowhere near as crazy. Like you're not going to roll the like mod that sends you to the Void League or anything like that. That's exclusive for those player-made ones. But yes, this is a new tier of difficulty. It is expected that they are hard, for sure, but I'm sure some of your questions get into some of that, so
yeah,
I'll explain them as it comes.
So these are the primary vehicle now for getting like the Uber fight keys. What led to the decision to make them come from a tier 17 separate map thing like this instead of from the boss, which I guess was the more expected, like you would get an Uber Maven key from Maven?
Like, okay, like let's say it was from Shaper, and to get Uber Shaper, and you kill your Shaper, let's say it was even once every time, and now you kill your Uber Shaper, or let's say you fail, that's fine, but eventually you conquer it, you can kill it. It's not now fun to go back and do regular Shaper where clearly you can do the Uber version. Why are you bothering with the non-Uber version? So unless you want a specific drop from him, it's not fun to go back and just do like a clearly lower grade quality. So we instead went with it going a different way where we have something that is ideally in between those 2 points of difficulty and has random variance. Like you'll find that some of the tier 17 map bosses with certain mod combinations are probably even harder than the Uber Pinnacles, depending on your character and all of those variables there. I wouldn't say that's going to happen entirely consistently. Like it'll be occasionally the case, but it certainly isn't fun to just be like, in order to do Uber Shaper, I have to do this content that I have clearly proven capable of doing, and just repeating that over and over.
I see. Yeah. So it's for the people who want to farm their own ones. They're doing content that is up to their challenge level, basically, because the regular boss wouldn't be anywhere near that.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Right on. How do you get the tier 17 maps though?
So the tier 17 maps, when you get more void stones, it has a chance to convert T16 maps that drop. The more void stones you get, it becomes multiplicatively higher. But there is a kind of diminishing returns on that. So it is quite probable to convert T16 maps like the first one, and then as you get more T17s, it becomes less and less and less. And the reason we did that is obviously the discrepancy between just running regular T16s and obviously top tier juicing. You end up with like the multiplier difference of the amount of T16s dropping is substantial to say the least. And we didn't want it to be that we have to balance around the juicing with respect to getting T17s. We wanted to be that more accessible across the board. And so yes, we added a kind of diminishing return. So like your first one might be quite probable, the next one's less, and the next one less, and then you're not going to get like 20 T17s in one map kind of thing going on.
Right.
It is also worth noting T17s cannot drop T17s. They are not self-sustaining. The intention is that you are still kind of doing T16s and occasionally diving into T17s, unless you want to trade, of course, in which case, the world's your oyster.
So I saw they have their own new mod pool. And we saw things. One of the mods I saw was Ray Monsters remove 10% life, mana, and ES on hit. The mana removed on hit seems to break a lot of builds in particular whenever that sort of thing comes up, as mana is generally a pretty finely tuned system in Path of Exile. And it gets me thinking in general
think
about
D
mods
got
like
a Facebook
instant
message. I think that's what
recovery
that
and
sound
things
was.
that disable auras and stuff like that. And it feels just a bit not too dissimilar to monsters just being immune to your build, right? So what's the intention behind those sorts of modifiers in maps?
It certainly was the ideal dream back when, that there are a lot of modifiers that can't be done by every build and you'd re-roll them and whatnot. Now, obviously, in the context of T17s, you can't re-roll them. So this really is, you should either change your playstyle, take your time, be a bit more careful to do it, or you can trade it away, of course, or maybe you simply can't run it on that character and you have to maybe build a different character that is capable of doing, or more characters that are capable of doing different maps. There is one tool, though, that is in the form of a scarab. One of the scarabs gives you additional crafting modifiers on your map device. It isn't a common scarab by any means. You can't just use it on every T17. But two of the extra crafting mods that get applied to the map device is that prefixes are disabled and suffixes are disabled. So you can pick one of those. So if you do get one of these T17s, I do expect sometimes, and you're
That's
like,
cool,
I
you
can't
can
run it because of
disable.
this modifier, you can at least use that scarab to turn that off occasionally. So it is like one of the tools that you can use to
That's cool.
Get around certain mods that it might be too hard or you can't quite get through. But the general idea is that you do have to actually think about these modifiers, play around them, change your characters. It's not just a kind of like, well, you don't have to alch them, they drop rolled, but it shouldn't just be a T17 is mindless, go in there and do it. Unless, of course, your build is so strong and so diverse that it can do that, which that's fine. If you want to build your character that way, then that's what the game allows you to do, and that's what we like. So,
right on, right on. We'll jump back to the league a little bit before we move on to some of the other end game questions that I have. But what you're doing with the difficulty control for Necropolis, where you can select which monsters get buffed in which ways, seems like a lot of what people have been asking for, especially with Afflictions launch, where we didn't have as precise control over the difficulty of content we were facing. That said, how do you weigh up giving this level of control against things like adding to the time it takes to jump into the gameplay? I saw that this is going to take a bit of time to like read through those things and shuffle the menu each zone.
So obviously we like giving control. But yes, in this league you cannot skip the difficulty. Having the control is a way to make it easier or harder if you want.
It is through the
but
campaign.
you cannot skip it. If you just enter the area and you don't interact with the lantern, you'll get whatever randomly generates. So you don't have to, I'd say throughout the campaign, like it is going to be harder by not engaging with it, but you don't have to engage with the league in the sense of interacting with that UI. But you will have to deal with the fact that some monsters are harder. So this is a rare league where in this case, you can't really skip it, which isn't something we do a lot. But occasionally we get back into that and try it out. Now that being said, yes, obviously we like difficulty, being able to manipulate the difficulty, and I think it is, and obviously the rewards as well. Now, it just needs to be the case that it is worth your time from a reward standpoint, engaging with that. If that isn't the case, we have failed. Like, it obviously should be worth your time from a reward point to go, oh, awesome, I got this thing, I need to put it on some XP, I need to put it on this pack, or you get, like, the pack spawns Torment Spirits on death, I need to make sure it's on this pack. Like, there are certainly lots of positive mods that, or like spawning lesser shrines, right? If you put that on a very rare pack, you're not going to get very many of them. If you put it on a common pack, all of a sudden you're going to have a whole bunch of shrine buffs throughout the area, which in turn also makes it easier. So not only does this league make it harder, it also makes it easier in some ways. Now, one thing you said, talking about the time, like obviously when you get to end game, which like for every map you do get presented with that UI, but because we have added the nodes on the Atlas tree for Necropolis, we have added a keystone that allows you to, well, effectively what it says is the mods are applied randomly and there are more mods, so it is harder and it is more rewarding in some senses, but you then don't get to customize it. But if someone is like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with interacting with that between my maps, you can just run the map and it will randomly do it. And like, that isn't necessarily to say that that's better or worse. It's just one of the ways someone can customize their experience here. But yeah, so through the campaign, you don't have to use the UI, but it will probably be harder and less rewarding. So you should be wanting to do it, unless, of course, you just want to get to end game, go for it. And at end game, if you want to invest in the keystone, you can skip doing it on the maps themselves if you, again, don't want to have to deal with it. So ideally, we've given, the choice here to do both versions and play the way you want to play.
But you do
really
have to
clever
deal
using
with it no
the
matter
Atlas
what.
passive tree as
That's
like
going to
a
be an
tool
L
to
for
be able to
for some
customize
people.
that league
I don't know if
experience
it'll be a
out,
lot of
to the
people.
point where
But
I'm surprised it hasn't happened before, right? But it makes
It was
sense if it's unavoidable.
actually, we were talking about trying to find a way, and we were talking about like checkboxes and all that, and it's all just a little bit inelegant. And it was actually a suggestion of one of the programmers was like, we could do a keystone, and then we're like, hey, we never actually do tree support for the current league. Like, it's just not even a thing that we've really considered. And from there, we're like, wait, we should just do this. Like, of course we should do this. Like, this is going to be fun and allow people to do different strategies, and like, why not? So I think it is a good addition. We'll see how it actually plays, because it's the first time we're doing it, and then we may continue doing it for future leagues, or maybe it's terrible. We'll see, and we'll not do it again. Well, who knows? I mean, we think it's cool here, but we're not always right.
All right. So in
really
the
curious what they're
campaign,
gonna
monsters you kill in one
do
zone
about
affect what
sextants
happens in
in
the next
Sanctum.
zone, like the amount of devoted monsters modifiers that show up. And this is the first time I recall seeing a league like this where what you do in one affects like kind of the next zone like that. Does it work on like any next zone you enter, even like a zone reset of the same zone or somewhere in a different act or something?
No. So this doesn't. The league actually isn't customizable when accessing through Waypoint or through the world map.
Oh.
Which is bit different. I mean, you might think, oh, but my Blood Aqueduct farming, and yeah, sure, you can still do it technically by farming from town, but we're also like, not that I know how many people even still do that outside of like, SSF tabular farming, which I still don't even know if necessarily is a strategy. But either way, yes, farming the same zone over and over is not really embraced in this league. The difficulty will still be there, but you won't be able to customize the mods, and you won't get devoted mods either. So it's more for like, the linear playthrough when you're going through. So
Souls
the way it
quarry.
works, the way it works effectively is like the more haunted monsters you kill, the more likely you will get devoted modifiers. It's a campaign-only feature. It doesn't happen in maps. Maps are completely randomly generated per item. So it's an interesting way where it works a little bit differently in the campaign than maps, which I think is interesting. I kind of like having subtle differences there. And yeah, the more haunted monsters you kill, the more likely you are to get devoted monsters. And this is actually a reward for why you want to make it hard. Because if, let's just using Mudflats as the example, if you put all the hard if you have, say, 2 out of 4 of the packs, or however many packs there are, have haunted mods, you might want to say, I'm going to make that easier and put them on the zombies and water elementals. But those are the least common monsters in that area, and thus you are less likely to now get devoted modifiers to appear when transitioning into either Fetid Pool or Submerged Passage. So you actually have an incentive to put them on the rowers and the other pack of rowers, because they are like the dominant monster in that area. Which is kind of interesting. So again, like there are many pros and cons to controlling.
This league is going to be
and then
incredibly dependent on making
sure
sure the mods from the league mechanic are balanced. Because if they are too hard and overtuned, and it's literally every
but also
instance
the other thing,
of the
just while we're on
campaign
the
and
topic
maps,
of the other reason why it's actually
it is going to
sometimes good
piss
make
people
things
off
harder,
immensely.
in some sense. There's so many axes here that it's
I
more
hope
like
they erred on
you
the
want
side
as
of
many
making
monsters
them
as possible,
a
haunted
little
by
bit
as many
easier,
high-tier things as
and
possible.
then maybe tuning them up if they have to a little
The
bit.
haunted monsters are
Because
the
if they
ones
make
that
them
would turn
too
into the
hard,
ones that you collect
it
for
is going to
crafting.
destroy
So
the beginning
again,
of
if you
this
want to
league.
maximize your crafting output, you want to be putting the haunted modifiers of the highest tiers on the packs that have the highest density and pack size. So again, going into mudflats as the example, you want to have the rowers do that if you want to maximize your crafting output. So there are two axes and rewards for why you want to be making things harder. But often what I would say people are probably going to be like, I'm going to make things a bit easier to start with as they get more comfortable with their character. As their character gets more powerful, they start to take a little bit more risks in that regard. And of course, if it becomes too hard and they over make it too hard for themselves, the mods rotate pretty frequently, like to the point if you're like running through an area, the next time if you then had to recreate that area, because you're like, nah, I've made it too hard. The mods will have rotated, and you can adapt your decisions and be like, yeah, this is easier for me now. I'll wait a few more areas or some more levels until I then raise the difficulty again.
So how clearly is that like reward system communicated in the UI? Can like someone who hasn't like watched this know that, you know, killing more of these monsters will give more devoted to the next zone and stuff like that?
That isn't currently communicated, but it will be. You probably didn't see it in the live stream, but we will do that. At least on the hovers, when you hover over and it just says devoted, we will put like a little, we'll put it on the hovers of all the like tier things where it says like, servant haunted, noble haunted, etc. Currently, I think it says something, but I can't remember what. But yeah, we'll do a pass on making things more observable and all of that.
It's actually kind of interesting on that point that this is the first time in PoE where you have information about what is in a zone and what the pack compositions are, and like just information about monsters. And there's just information generally there about like what monsters do and so on, which is kind of not really something we've ever really done before. So this UI actually sort of provides that, and it'll be interesting to see like whether that's actually useful and like whether we want to think about how we might communicate that again in the future, because like all that's now sort of a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I got really excited actually when I saw that. I was like, oh, we can actually see what their abilities are and damage types and stuff like that. I was like,
along that note, there's quite an interesting feature in maps that because maps have uniform density distribution of packs. So generally in a map, you're going to have like I think it's 5 packs or whatever, and you're going to have 20. It's generally going to be that there's 20% of the map as each pack. So in maps, there are these extra little symbols, which I don't think were in the live stream that we've kind of added in more recently, which are variants. So sometimes a certain pack is going to have higher like pack size or mod effect or density, and there'll be these kind of up and down arrows to kind of show like this pack's going to be more common and this one's going to be less common and stuff like that, just to add that variance so that those variables can still play a role in when interacting with the modifiers. Otherwise, it would just be like, here's porcupines, I'll do X, and then 90% of packs you probably wouldn't care too much about. So we've added extra variables to make it that the packs and maps, are a bit, have more influence on your decisions. That being said, when you get into tier 17 and you will have a pack of Brutuses, you might actually think a bit more about it. Yeah.
You're talking about your up and down arrows there. Maybe realize what the next league is going to be. Monster stock market investing. It's there. It's ready for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go off topic a little bit here and answer a chanted question in chat so that we can get back on track. So one sec. There we go. So you've been flooding us with a lot of great quality of life updates in the lead up to this release. It's like some spring cleaning is going on right now, which I love to see. That said, at least one of them seems to have missed the mark, which is the automation change and the resulting removal of the ability to bind instant skills to left click movement. So having your steel skin on left click and having it auto cast that way. So this seems to be a pretty unpopular change, and I just want to ask you guys, why do you feel like that is? Why is it so unpopular?
Well, there's a fair. I'll go into a few things here.
Because
But
he
yes,
uses an
obviously
extra
missed the
gem
mark on this
slot
one.
for
As
no
I said, was
reason.
not
You
always
didn't really
right.
need to change it.
Bit of a disaster. I do, however, think this is solving some good things the way we've done it. But the problem is it hasn't obviously solved it entirely. And going from a bad solution to a bad solution, at least from our perspective, is not what we should be doing. So we will make further changes. I just don't know exactly when and to what degree. There's obviously discussions going on. So to get into some details there, I do believe that it is beneficial now that it is a more observable mechanic, a less like hidden specialized mechanic of, like you can follow a build guide and you can see, oh, this person's using this instant skill. But at no point does a user necessarily know they should randomly, unintuitively bind it to left click to have it autocast.
That is a good
The way
point.
that
I'll
was
give him
before
that.
was just, I think, like more than anything, it just felt like such a strange, like, why should this even be a thing? Kind of, it was kind of almost exploiting a quirk in just the way that our input system was, rather than really being like an actual mechanic we decided to exist. I think that was probably where we started to feel like, oh, this is like, because I remember when I was discussing it with Mark, and I was kind of like, this really, like, if you tell a new user about this thing and the way that it works and why it is the way that it is, it's kind of like, this just sounds so dumb. And that's kind of why we were kind of sort of keen to change it. But on the other hand, I guess the problem, well, yeah, I mean, ultimately the issue there is that, the solution is a reduction in character power due to the fact that you need to have an extra support socket. And, without compensation, that obviously feels really bad. So,
Well,
yeah.
I do stand by the being able to have it trigger while stationary is an advantage, and being able to use multiple is an advantage. But of course, then we talk about more into socket pressure, right? Using multiple, unless you were already using multiple, isn't reasonable for most characters. So, and we can talk about all kinds of like what the actual solutions would be, but effectively, from my perspective, I come down to if these things are just becoming passive skills, then why are they not just passive skills? That's what I've kind of come to recently. Like, we should probably take all of these, make them like, how is, say, Time of Need not different from Steel Skin? I understand one of them is regeneration and one of them is mitigation, but in the sense that, like, effectively what we're saying Steel Skin, Molten Shell, etc. is now every 10 seconds do something for Y seconds, which is exactly what a lot of our passives do. And so I was just thinking, like, we could move a lot of these into passives. And then what we could do is actually take what we originally intended for those skills and design awesome skills that are, because they were intended to be reactionary. And it'd be nice to actually design some stuff that is useful for that. Now, obviously, that's a longer discussion, designing the specifics of all the skills. But there are also some objective problems and balance problems that did happen from this outside of socket pressure. And I can at least cover some of them now. So I'll start with, General's Cry. Obviously nerfed by this, right? It isn't nerfed if you were to use it manually. It is nerfed automated. And when you look at it, no one's using it manually. Everyone's using it automated. And when I say everyone, I obviously mean, the majority of people. So we are buffing General's Cry, and we are doing some other things Warcry adjacent, like I think there's some inconsistencies on a bunch of unique items which have like casting a Warcry and using a Warcry, and we're making that more consistent so that more things work in that regard, but there's heaps of little nitty-gritty details there. Patch notes will hopefully clarify all that. Now, then there's Mines, which is a big one. Now, Mine playstyle, aside from the annoying having it on left click, going like tink, 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 tink the whole time, and that just being irritating, it is certainly the case that when it is triggering all the time with a support gem, obviously, if you now want to have the play style of throwing heaps of mines and then moving to detonate them all at once, which is how mines are meant to be played. You could do that before, and now you can't. So to change that, we've added a mastery for mines, which does the exact same behavior as before, which the mastery says your mines will detonate every X milliseconds while moving, and it will occur the moment you start moving from a stationary position. Now, the other third one I'll get into here is, Bone Armor from Necromancer. So, goodbye Bone Armor. And we have redesigned some of the nodes around there. So, what have we changed? I'll see if I can remember all the details here. I think it's Mindless Aggression. And note, all these notables are going to probably get renamed due to the theme change, but I'll use the old names just because that's what everyone will know. So mindless aggression is now multiplicative 10% more minion damage and multiplicative 20% more minion life, instead of the increased damage and increased speed. This is possibly worse as a 2-pointer at like level 30, but in-game far superior in terms of actual damage output. You could argue it's slightly worse with spiritual aid, but I think that loss is ultimately inconsequential with the other changes here. Then there's the 4-pointer bone barrier, which we are going to keep the PDR stat and the what we're doing is we're removing bone armor and we're adding a large amount of minion life is added as extra energy shield, which will increase the minion survivability for the amount lost by bone armor. So that should provide a good mitigation
but
against.
We were using it.
Obviously, with the mechanic of energy shield recharging, it'll help a lot towards your minions. Like they
Don't
take
really
a bit
care
of
about
damage
the
and
extra
then they have some time
minion
to get it back.
survivability.
And it's not foolproof, but that's fine. What you have lost is obviously the bleed removal from them. Deal with it is my answer on that one. What we actually did find, by the way, is a lot of necromancers weren't actually using bone armor, and a lot were just using molten shell anyway. So I don't know how much of that is actually lost.
So now you have to use molten shell, and you can't put it on left click anymore.
And I know this is a bit of a rant, but I'll just keep going.
So it's a nerf.
Again, people want to know about these changes. What else did we change there?
Well, one more thing. Did you change the leech thing, or is that?
Yeah. So there is a. Oh, I don't want to misremember exactly. I'll go into the Unholy Might thing first. So Unholy Might, we're actually changing what Unholy Might does, which is better for summoners in some regards, but more so poison summoners, and better for everyone else in many regards. So Unholy Might now is 100% of physical converted to chaos, as well as I think it's 25% chance to apply Wither on hit. So hopefully that is enabling a lot more different unique items, and obviously Sin's Rebirth and all of that throughout the game. But also poison summoners, in theory, don't also now have to use a Wither setup, so to get some gems there, I suppose. But that's not exactly necessarily going to be a meta build. But we have changed Extractor Mentis because that gave permanent.
Wait, did he say that it's nerfed or it's buffed? It sounds like it's easier to make now, right?
Physical and chaos immunity.
I kind of zoned out for a second.
A little bit busted with, worm flask shenanigans. So anyway, that's been adjusted, and
which is what I was going to leak start probably.
I can't remember. We were experimenting with some leech. I can't remember if we stuck with it, but I think we had a 1% of damage dealt by minions is leached to you as life, replacing the recovery on Bone Barrier as well, which should account for a lot more incoming life recovery. I will double check that and I will post that afterwards just in case, because we went through like 50 iterations here and we're at somewhere. So that leaves one major problem, which is the socket pressure, especially on summoners. And we are actively discussing solutions to that one. I think where we are currently landing is that we want to have corruption implicits possibly on all the different minion base types. So Bone Ring, the Bone Shields, and the minion weapons, which grant various different skills like Convocation, the Offerings, Desecrate. I know a lot of people end up just auto-casting Desecrate and Offerings with the wand, but for people who don't have that's good. And at the very least, generally Convocation is unlinked. We might even do the Golem skills as corruptions too. I'm a bit iffy on that one, so I know generally I shouldn't say things that we're not definitely doing, but I'm just speaking freely on that one. So hopefully that is at least a temporary solution to alleviate some socket pressure, but we probably do need to do more. But doing more in the next week is, probably kind of hard, so I would look forward to hopefully seeing more of that in the future. But that's where we're at with that pretty much. Big rant.
It's like this automation change kind of revealed just how much of a very potent band-aid the left-click automation was, because it's opened up this whole can of worms of being like, well, it's exposed how these skills designs are all a bit problematic. These ones that encourage you to have them just up all the time, cast off cooldown. These are things that potentially need to be readdressed, right?
For sure. This does happen a lot. Even if you look at the Pantheon change, which was one of the first quality of life things we announced, you know, it's like, well, we're going to change this Pantheon thing. Like, surely that's good for everyone, not having to redo. And then all of a sudden it's like, but now I don't want to always have chill effect on and all this. And we're just looking at these things going, Pantheons equals positive buffs. But then there are all these niche builds and Johnny builds that end up with taking these upsides and turning them into, they become downsides. And so now we have to adapt another thing. Like, often what happens is we change a system that we entirely think is positive. And yes, either because we've not given it enough time internally, or because, again, it's very hard for even 100 people to find things as quickly and as actively as the many hundreds of thousands of people. And so, yeah, we find that there are things we then need to do afterwards to fix. So obviously, we address the Pantheon thing by allowing you on a character by character basis to then disable and enable the Pantheon upgrades to fix a bunch of niche builds. But yeah, with a game as like expansive as Path of Exile, with all the millions of different builds, it is pretty hard to change anything without affecting something. And in this case, it was just we made a change that affected a lot more than we had originally thought about. And yeah, we're doing a lot of solutions here, but there is certainly need for a much grander solution when it comes to that left click thing. But I think where we're at right now is probably pretty good. I am never ever going to be happy with the fact anyone feels like they need to do some sort of numlock shenanigans, or whatever the crazy strategies are. That is not okay, and as such, we need to. If that is still happening, we need to still fix more.
Yeah, yeah. When there's like one of these things where you change something and it's like, this will be good once we get these other things implemented down the line, do you feel compelled to maybe like hold off on the change until you can get it all done at once?
Well, I think sometimes, but I think in this case, I think the lesser evil has been met.
Man, they're
And I
talking a
think
lot
that it
about
is
this
worth
left click
sticking
change.
to this one, especially with us fixing all those actual objective problems with the balance and actual nerfs that occurred as a result of it. Sure, not every single use case is covered, but I think the other ones are nowhere near as consequential. And I do think it will actually play relatively well. But yeah, in some cases, yeah, I'm sitting there like, okay, do we revert that, or do we, aim to get all the fixes in? We're generally pretty fast with reacting to things like this. We generally can make changes pretty quickly. But yeah, it is a hard decision to make for sure. Like, you definitely lose sleep over that one. But like that's what we do. And often as like, it's actually, responding to this one has actually been fun in at least a development sense, because it is promoting a bunch of these other changes that have been like honestly needed for a while.
Yeah.
Like, especially when it comes to the socket
Yeah.
pressure thing, like that, it is honestly unacceptable that we have not really addressed that in quite some time. So yeah, I mean, ideally, I can't promise by the end of next week we have the right answer, and I can't promise we're necessarily going to do something, but it is certainly something we are actively going to we have been actively discussing and will continue actively discussing the moment.
Yeah, that's the only one that so far is a clear nerf.
Yeah, like I said, it was such an effective band-aid that like ripping it off now has like allowed you to kind of get to the meat of some of these problems, which I'm excited to see what you do with these like skills that are all have this design.
So we see the patch notes. Then there's going to be a whole other can of worms.
Skills out of it down the line as a result.
Yeah, I agree. Already I have a lot of cool ideas. It's just a matter of now finding the resources to get them all in and whatnot.
Good luck. So since we're on the quality of life topic, something that bugged me quite a bit lately is getting attacked while talking to NPCs, especially in Affliction. I didn't end up getting through all the lore because I'm constantly getting attacked. But in the preview footage, I even noticed, I don't know if you ended up using a different version, but the player had the issue of talking to the nameless seer and getting attacked by a mob. Have you guys considered using pause tech to pause the game during NPC conversations when you're otherwise defenseless, or maybe other solutions like making you untargetable during dialogue?
I would say yes, at least in the especially in the context of PoE 2, which does have pausing.
Is there any actual reason we can't add pausing to PoE 1?
Oh, you're doing it again?
Probably not.
Like, I know it's kind of been one of those things that we've. Sorry. It's one of
Do
those
a
things
minion
that
raider.
we kind of did. And
It might
like,
suck, but it'd be
I don't
cool.
know, I'd have to talk to Reese and find out.
You'd be
what
fast.
there were. We certainly
Right,
were
outrun your
scared by it.
minions.
When we first added it, it was like, this is going to break so much shit, but then it didn't really in PoE 2, so maybe it will.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I can't see any obvious reason why it wouldn't be able to be ported over relative You never know. There'll be something,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's probably something we can work around.
Right.
I mean,
the thing that does suck a little bit about pausing during NPC conversations, though, is that there's various triggers that occur, and so it won't. If we just enabled it like that, like it would break stuff like the Fairgraves quest, and like things like that. Like there are some things that would break if we did that immediately, but like it's the kind of thing
we would have to find a way to be able to pause, or like opt into pausing on some and not on others.
There's also the question of other people in the zone, as well. Like there's like a ton of random things that would probably.
The way our pausing works right now is everyone has to have opted into a pause for it to be paused. So, but I mean, technically in multiplayer, if you're in proximity like that, you can just be like, defend me to your friend, I suppose. But they might just run off and start trying to loot some stuff and leave you to die. But yeah, I guess the counter argument is like, what about things like having safe zones around NPCs? And I would say that I have yet to find many games that don't end up just having exploitative cases around that. And that would be a lot more actual work.
Yeah, that'd be exploitive as fuck. Just take the hardest enemy by an NPC.
But it's the whole like I'm in a map and Alva's there and like, oh no, I'm gonna die or something, or like I just want to reprieve and I just go and like click Alva and then I'm like, oh phew, I'm safe now, and then I get
in a world where people can log out. How is that like problematic?
I mean, you're not wrong, but it feels like, well, at least logging out has a cost to the portal, right? Like, I mean, it isn't quite the same, but in the sense that like, it feels exploitative, whereas logging out does not. Like, it feels like I'm cheesing some mechanic that's unintended for that. Like, I wouldn't want to do a solution that feels like
I counter argue that comment because I think logging out feels exploitative. Whereas if you're talking to an NPC who protects you with a bubble because they have NPC magic, I'm like, that seems like an in-game thing. Like that seems reasonable.
I buy that, but also logging out in PoE2, of course, will log you right back into
yeah,
where you
like,
were.
be careful now because you're going to get us talking into changing how logout works.
Yep.
I have to say, after the hands-on with PoE2, I love the pausing and the reconnecting you exactly where you were if the game crashes or something. So
yeah. Which turned out to be very beneficial during the test we just did, considering the number of crashes there still were in the build. But
it happens.
At least you could log back into exactly where you were and just continue.
It certainly helped.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Something you
there
might
will be a
investigate.
solution to your problem, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And pausing might be one of them. And otherwise, we'll engineer and come up with design some other solution. Like there will be something. But yes, it has come up quite a bit recently just because of the scope of PoE2. And generally, when we're discussing that stuff, we do also think, well, if this is a problem in PoE1 as well, like what are we doing? Like let's fix it. So it'll happen at some point.
Sweet. Before we go back to the league, we'll talk about the other kind of quality of life related thing, which was the announcement of the Ashling crafting change. So we've been wanting itemized Ashling crafts for quite some time, which is pretty awesome that we're getting that now. But it seems strange to me that it was at the cost of the current Veiled Orb Chaos style effect. That especially was a really nice mid-level entry crafting option for a lot of players. So to have that removed seems like quite the bummer, as you had the more random but more accessible version versus Ashling's much more deterministic but more expensive, more costly version. So why did you get rid of the regular veil effect?
I mean, I wouldn't say the intention's to just get rid of things, but I also kind of don't see it as a loss to be able to kind of where possible, not retain every single little crafting thing. I would say that the crafting is, at this point, like quite bloated in a sense of like, it is quite hard for someone who isn't reading into and studying profusely to figure out exactly how to craft the best item. And that's not necessarily a problem, but taking the opportunities to remove something that is honestly just bloat at some points is a win, especially if we can find a way to bring it back into the game a different way that feels a bit more core and fundamental. And maybe you'll find that with, say, the Necropolis crafting system. Like that is, in theory, a start to end game meant to be crafting. You can do crazy stuff at the end. You can do really simple stuff mid game, early game. And then obviously when we then go to say, is this coming core? Like, how do we want to do it? If we want to do it, maybe it's absolutely busted in so many ways that we don't want to, we'll see. But there's always more crafting things we're adding. Like you don't have a shortage of different crafting things in the game. Like it's certainly a little bit out of control in a good way and in sometimes a bad way. and more are going to come. So I wouldn't worry about losing something like that in the short term, especially when you only need to wait a league or two for things like that to come back. And there are always just so many other ways to craft your items. I don't think losing that is ultimately fundamental. And the win of having, obviously, it be tradable is huge. I am very much trying my best to get around as many of the, services as opposed to trades. We're
Yeah,
doing a lot,
fact.
100%.
as much as possible. Like I eventually want to make sure we add a thing where for even mirroring items, even though that's like the nichest of the niche in the game, we're talking about, the select few. I do want it to be that, there is a way that you can do that without having to trade your items to someone. So there are a few designs there even, and, like hopefully we will eventually get rid of as much of that as possible, especially when it comes to trusting someone with your item.
Just do a
I don't
mirror
like that
bench
at all. So yeah, we'll hopefully work around. But
that the
obviously,
current
like
player can't
services
take
like
the item out
rosters
of.
and all of that, there's not really a lot you can do about that. That's completely
So
fine.
either
But
mirrors it or the guy takes it out.
when it comes to actually like loaning someone your item, I'm certainly not kind of in favor of that thing. And so yeah, hopefully we can see the removal of the rest of those in due time. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm super keen on those changes. So if the thinking is to kind of like slim down on some bloat, I certainly don't disagree that like the crafting system might have like a bit much going on. I think in this particular instance, the reason why you've seen this reaction to it is this particular one little aspect of bloat. It was actually kind of like used in almost every mid-level craft, so it feels a little bit jarring to see it removed, I guess.
Fair enough, and I guess the answer there is Necropolis will provide one of the most in-depth crafting systems we ever have, and you could argue about Standard League, but I mean, my answer again there is deal with it, and then later on there will be more crafting systems and more new things and more interesting things. So.
Yeah, the Necropolis
I'm super
crafting looks
excited
really
about the
pretty damn
Necropolis
strong.
crafting. I was stoked. The thing I said after last league, I was like, you guys have to do like some sort of crafting league this time. I feel like it's the only answer to like the whiplash of previous league. So let's talk a bit about that actually. So Affliction was a lot of people's potential favorite league, maybe mine. Was certainly extremely rewarding. Why do you think it was so popular, and were you worried about
Because it was
kind of like
extremely
coming into
rewarding.
this league after that?
Huh.
The correction, effectively.
Why do we think it was so popular? I mean, obviously, at the start, it kind of wasn't in so many ways. It was certainly too difficult. We certainly messed up a bit there. Once things were kind of fixed and once people kind of got their heads around, or around the difficulty of the character builds to handle the difficulty, yes, it became Magic Find Ruckus League. Why was it popular? I mean, it was different. It's not something we had done before in so many regards. It was using new art, and obviously it had bosses. It had
because it was
all this
constant
stuff. It had so
dopamine
many
hits when
different
you
kind of
MF.
reward arcs and existing
That's
old ones
why it
put
was
into
popular.
it, like the omens and all kinds of little things. It just had heaps of little detail. The ascendancy classes. I mean, people like that, but ultimately, yes, we can just go to the Magic Find.
Lots of tanks.
I'll tell you, I've never had that experience before. I've never, been to the point where, well, not quite like this, where
It was
really
lag
feels like
league.
the only thing left on the filter is unique leather belts and unique heavy belts and a couple other things. And there's still too many belts to try, and you're still just like, oh my god, there are freaking belts everywhere.
It was a bit too far.
Yeah, to say the least.
I mean, even just from a server perspective, the level of the number of players we could get on a server per server this league was much lower than it has been before, and even that was started to become a bit of a problem.
So the primary issue there is actually what happens is when monsters stay alive longer, because Affliction was making things last live longer, they are getting hit more. And when a monster is alive, they cost more than when they're dead. And so the moment, and then obviously when you've got a Stygian Spires spewing out 700 monsters a second, combined with the 50% increased attack speed, soul eaters, and all of that, you are nothing can survive that level of absolute mayhem. As in hardware wise. So, but yes, there is going to be a bit of a detox to some degree. But on the other hand, we have changed a lot in the end game to the point
Withdrawal.
where hopefully the
I need my
meta is
tanks.
so different
I
that
need my
it kind of
tanks.
just feels a little bit different as opposed to necessarily like less or worse. There is one other change I'll talk about, and I'm keen for people's feedback. So one problem that we kind of have is that the amount of like obviously if you were to farm mage bloods, headhunters, etc. via divination cards, like there is a somewhat reliable way to get that. You get your doctors, you get your apothecaries and whatnot. And you saw the new divination card scarabs. Obviously, we're like embracing that. We're not changing anything around that. But one thing that I do consider problematic, and we have made changes around, is stacked decks. So stacked decks, a lot of those
Stacked
uniques
what?
are coming from stacked decks. And so we have
It
actually
really does
made
sound like
some
saying
changes
dicks.
where the league rewards of various leagues, especially the ones that were quite high, so stuff like Tujin and a few other leagues, we have cut back on the amount of stacked decks they're giving. And you're like, oh wow, nerf my fun stacked decks. To compensate for that, and what it has allowed us
Stop
to do
saying
is
it.
we have actually multiplied the drop rates
God,
of
stop
your
saying
mage
it.
bloods, your headhunters, etc. by 2.5 times from world drops. And the intention there is that you are seeing more from actual drops instead of just from
Wait,
stacked
did he
deck
just
spam.
say they more
Now,
than
we've kept
doubled?
stacked deck. It was certainly on the chopping block. It was
I know you were gunning.
Did
for
they say they
stacked
increased
deck,
the drop
like,
rate of Headhunter and Mage Blood by
to
2.5
get that
times?
thing out. But I think a lot of the reason was just the idea that one thing that kind of sucks a bit is that you're getting rewards for bosses for boss kills that people haven't been able to do yet.
Actually, not anymore.
Nice.
We have changed, which is true. That which I don't know if people saw, but stack decks cannot yield divination cards that would give items from exclusive bosses anymore.
Yeah, that was definitely a thing that sucked. Was that like you want the exclusive items to some extent to feel like okay, you proved that you killed this guy by having that item. So
there are some corner cases like the Gambler and the Void that we're doing some specific handling around, but in general, you should be seeing a lot less like random Star Forges appearing before anyone's even killed Uber Shaper kind of thing.
Right.
And also, obviously, you've still got the Voidborn keys that will yield it. You've got Valdo's maps, which will yield whatever people have chosen to give there, which is probably just a bunch of mage blood still. But yes, ultimately, yeah, we want to see a lot more of those drops come from actually killing monsters and from farming divination cards the way we intended, which is by actually farming the counter, as opposed to just mass stack deck farming on a mass level from specific leagues.
Massive
I hope that is
stack decks.
perceived positively, of course, because I genuinely believe it is better. But let us know. We have a little bit of time to make some changes there if needed.
Right on, right on. I'll let people share their opinions on that one. I mean, to me, it's I like the idea of boss drops coming from the bosses and not just from random stack decks. But anyway, it might be controversial. We'll see. Chat says W, so a lot of wins in chat. So it seems like mostly positive, positively received. You can
Love me some deck farming.
feel a sigh of relief, perhaps. Yeah. So I think everyone agrees that Affliction was like probably a bit crazy on the economic side of things and what was dropping and everything like that. And I must say, like, I played the most I've ever played this league. And I was getting to the point, like, in that 2 months phase where I was, like, doing things and...
Yeah, an apothecary, a
creating
nurse,
builds
and
doing
doctor.
content that I just hadn't done before. And I think a lot of players had that same experience.
Mad
And
Hatter.
looking at the
There's
overall
still
economy,
there's
I
still a
expected
ton of
with
really
how
good
crazy the league was for
cards in
things to
there.
be ruined, but because that term gets thrown around a lot when an economy is different, but the like end result felt really positive for most people. Where like, sure, some things like if you were trying to compete with the Giga Juicers for the items that they were trying to buy, like their bows or whatever, then yeah, you were having a hard time. But for the most part, a lot of stuff was really accessible, and it felt like a really fun league in that regard. And that was actually the biggest, I think, contributor to why it was such a fun league for myself and I think many others. Do you have any thoughts on that and like that economic shift and other ways that that could be captured?
I mean, I love it. I love how the economy goes wild based on the content we add. It's always interesting to watch and whatnot. I wouldn't say I have any strong feelings one way or another, but I wouldn't say it's like I just want to note, it's not like our intention to, get away from that specifically or do anything one way or another. Like, we liked these things happening organically. We like the community figuring out how to get around that and utilize it. And yeah, I agree. It ended up being completely fine and honestly completely fun. Maybe not everyone agrees. Maybe there are a lot of people who are like, no, it was too hard and I felt like everyone else got ahead of me. We don't know too much about that, but I mean, the league's ending now anyway, so what happened happened. But yeah, I mean, I do agree. At least I played a lot. My friends played a lot. Like, we certainly got into it. A bunch of people here were playing a lot, and I've heard mostly only positivity coming from like, you know, outside of the very early in the league where we had some misbalance. Like, the positivity for Affliction was very high. It's actually making me think like a little bit more about how we can find some way to make some of it core, but I don't quite know how to do that just yet. I mean, I don't know if you saw one, I don't know if it was in there, but one of the keystones has the whole, like, when there's less than 50 monsters remaining, your map boss is empowered by wisps.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit about that.
Too many things going on. But
Nobody's gonna
that's
use
like
that
kind of
keystone.
one way, at least for now.
But thanks for trying.
There's a lot of good monsters there. There's a lot of good, like, I mean, the bosses, and the ascendancies and stuff are interesting. It's just, it actually is one of the more complicated ones, especially when you consider the ascendancies and stuff, to try and even think how to put that into core. Like, that's a lot of character power.
Yeah.
And you, like, I don't know if we will do that, but ideally, even just the magic finding kind of part of it with some regulation to some degree would be fun to add. But I mean, who's to say the current league isn't going to end up having? Sure, it won't be a magic finding one so much, but with all the crafting and whatnot, it's probably heavily going to, change the economy dynamically, and that will evolve over time as well. So,
I think it's really relieving to hear as a player that you guys are like, you liked what you saw with the outcome of that. Like, I think the technical side of how Affliction achieved that with, like, things being laggy and all that sort of problem is not ideal, but the end result was something we really enjoyed. But there's this perception that you guys at GGG are sometimes a little bit grinchy about this stuff where you're like, we don't want you to have items and currency. So it's good to hear that.
I mean,
it's more positive
I am playing the game every league till the high end game and mostly to level 100, and I am farming all these things. Like, I'm not sitting there going like, damn, I don't want all this currency. Like,
what I don't like is when you like press Alt in the game and you get disconnected from
Yes.
the server, or like ban and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to technically break. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say one big shift, like, just talking about the playing the game here, and like, I do want to understand, like, a lot of what all these QOL changes are, a lot of what we're doing, a lot of what more will be done. And I think a lot of what is coming in Necropolis League, with respect to especially all the in-game changes, is a resultant of our team playing the game and
I can
listening
tell.
a lot more.
You guys have been playing the game because you did these changes.
Yeah, we started. So I mean, the whole sextant thing is just like, get me away from this. And I'm in game going like, okay, I've just allocated this tree. I'm like, damn, I don't want to play this anymore. And then I'm like, I don't want to have to respec all this, and then it might be wrong again. I want to experiment and try some stuff, and like, that's where you then get the loadouts.
Yeah,
And
that's top 3 best changes. Extra Atlas trees.
We know is a flawed system
That's
currently.
that's POG right there.
I'm going to improve it PoE 2 and then looking at PoE 1 around that in the future. But like, I'm sitting here trying to buy unmaking orbs, having the most frustrating time ever just because no one's replying to me and all of that. Like, I know the pain.
One of us.
And then I'm like, okay, we need some.
Yeah, there's
sort of,
multiple.
like,
Now you can get up to
loadouts
3
or
other
something like that.
Atlas
We need to find a
passives,
way
and you can
to
switch
have
between
this
them
so that I
through
can
the
play
trees.
in-game the way
So you can
that
have 3
I want
different
without
strategies
feeling
on deck.
punished.
You don't have to keep
And this
respecting
comes into
shit.
another thing, which is like, okay, like Wandering Path. I want to play the in-game my way, but if Wandering Path
Wish
is
they would have put
quantitatively too
Sanctum nodes
strong,
on the tree,
then I'm
but
not playing it my way. I'm playing it the way that the meta tells me I have to, because it is too powerful. And so, there's things
Yeah,
like
for
that
sure.
where that comes why we've removed a number of the keystones and whatnot, is because if you feel like you have to do something. And so you could argue, okay, well, nerf the value. Well, now I don't want to do it at all. So what's the point in it existing? If the keystone is into that binary state of feeling like you have to do it versus not have to do it, get rid of it. That's generally how I feel about it, and add something cooler and better. And the new keystones might end up in the same ballpark. And you know what? Might remove them later and add new ones as well. That's just how it will be. But yeah, anyway, I don't want it to be that the loadouts are like everyone has tree A, everyone has tree B, everyone has tree C, because the keystones mean that you have to do that. if people want to do that, because that's like, metas are metas, you can't get around that. But if it's that feeling of I have to do X, that I want to try and get away from, and especially for multiple
Wonder what they
leagues in a
replaced
row,
the Sanctum
it's
node
okay
with.
for one league, you have fun.
Oh, I
but
think they actually showed
if you
that,
feel
didn't
like
they?
you have to do something that isn't enjoyable, go away. I don't want it. Like, it shouldn't exist.
You love to hear it. You love to hear it. But I have a follow-up question that's completely unrelated. What about the rucksack?
Look, you're lucky you got it for those 3 months or 4 months.
Oh no.
I just know ultimately. You might see it back one day, but
No,
like,
just no.
I'm honestly surprised that Chris was even okay to even let you do that.
I don't think he was okay with it.
Really?
I think I snuck that
you
one.
snuck that one in without
Well, you weren't okay with it either. Like,
I wasn't okay.
we had a massive argument about it.
Oh no.
I assumed that Chris approved it.
He might have. I don't remember, but anyway, the luxury of the leagues is we do get to try these things for 3 or 4 months. And the importance is when we do something that we are reluctant about or we are in disagreement about, is that we do reevaluate it at the end of that and decide, are we keeping it or not? And it is a firm no on this one. And, like the good thing is we do, because we have these seasonal cycles, the leagues, we do get to try these things and we do get to do something that we're maybe not quite comfortable with just to really test it. And in this case, it's not. It's not staying in.
I mean, I have to respect a firm no, but what? Why? Why? How come?
Well, okay, why? Not to put him. I'm sorry to put you on the spot,
sorry.
but I was on one half of the argument.
Hang on. So you're first of all.
Oh no, I don't want to keep it.
First of all, Mark ultimately gets to decide this, but at the same time, my feeling on this stuff is that I don't like it when you have a build choice that results in more inventory space, because that kind of thing like leads to sort of weird incentives that I don't really love. Like, it's like if you have to, it's like if I have to change my build to get more inventory space, that just doesn't feel right to me. It's a little bit hard to explain exactly why that is, but like there's various things from games like that where
I do actually agree with that one. Having it be on a class is certainly not the right
That was
answer.
weird.
I also just personally
I'm gonna
don't
mute my microphone for a
think
minute 'cause my dog's
inventory
gonna
space
bark.
limitation is a good thing.
Right.
I think that pressure is good, and I don't have a personal problem with playing with it. Obviously, it's nice to always just have more and more and more and more. But I do think that pressure is interesting, and I do think it is important to have pressure on how much you can pick up and leave a map with. Especially after Affliction, I was leaving every map with a full inventory, going like, holy, there's more things I want to take and I can't, and literally there's stacks and stacks of currency on the ground I can't pick up. But I think that is healthy and good, and it makes you make the good decisions.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think this was actually about the space. The reason why everyone loved the rucksack was that it was a separate space that allowed it to be much easier to manage things like your map rolling currency and your scrolls and just that random shit that fills up and clutters your inventory that you constantly have to deal with when you're shifting stuff over to back and forth your stash. There's a real problem there, a quality of life problem that the rucksack inadvertently addressed, and that's why people loved it, I think.
Fair enough. There are some. Well, at least, okay, so if that is say the problem of rolling maps, for example, like, there are better solutions to that, I would say, which is, like, again, I hate talking about this because now everyone's going to want it, and it, like, makes it sound like it's certainly going to happen, and it isn't necessarily. But, like, surely a, like, inventory attached to your map device that you can open that, like, contains your fragments and whatnot.
I guess you can't put stuff in it and like from the map when you pick it up, I guess.
Like, I guess from the map, sure, but if they're just talking about, like, the whole bringing a bunch in to roll all your maps and, like, I don't know, there's more to discuss. But I saw this one on the old quality of life bingo sheet that was there, and I have been thinking about trying to find ways to solve that one, and so I'm hoping that we can find some way to either mitigate or solve that one in the future. Again, no promises, but we might come up with something.
Yeah, I can see there being another solution, and I'd be fine with that because, like, to me, it's not the fact about getting the more inventory space; it's about solving that quality of life issue. So, if there's another solution, I'm here for it.
There probably is. It's just whether or not we can do it, and whether or not we can come up with it in a
All
reasonable
right.
time.
They're still talking about the rucksack.
it's all a resources game at the end of the day. So,
I honestly didn't
look,
care
I am
about
keeping
the
an eye on
rucksack
those
that
bingo
much.
sheets. I am I'm tactically picking the ones so that we can't complete the bingo can't be completed.
Keep making them
no,
bingo sheets.
not actually, but one thing that is important with a lot of these quality of life, we are actually, especially with PoE 2's development, we are looking at a lot of these things which have been hard nosed and really reevaluating. And it's like,
I think PoE 2 really
That's
has
cool.
like,
yeah.
but just because like as well, I think as well, just like watching like new player experience videos and things like that, and just like looking at all the stuff that people are doing, and like it's kind of it's really another shot at like looking at all that really core stuff again and thinking about it. And like we just don't often think about some of that stuff very often because it's been there for so long. And then, so yeah, just having a chance to like really reevaluate everything really then starts to make you think, well, why is PoE 1 even like this? You know, like, and it makes like, ends up making those changes.
Like we on Path of Exile 2, obviously you have I maybe shouldn't spoil this, but I'm going to. We have on Path of Exile 2, we obviously have no more portal scrolls, and I'm not saying that we're doing that in PoE 1 just yet. However, well, I say just yet, maybe ever, but however, in PoE 1, what we are adding is, and it's come from the bingo sheet, is a bind key
Hit
to
T,
just
yep.
instantly open a
Hit
portal.
T to open a portal.
That you can bind, and you don't now have to open your
Good.
inventory to do it.
Yes.
I think having to open your inventory during a boss fight or something is not. Look, with pausing, that's kind of more acceptable because you can now pause.
Add it
use
in
the portal,
PoE
and
1.
you don't risk
Add
danger.
it.
But messing around with that in the midst of combat is not something that
Make
you should
stuff
really
drop
have to be doing.
unidentified
And the changes to PoE
unidentified
2 portals is what
or
really made us
identified.
reevaluate that. So yes, in 3.24, we'll do the classic video probably after this or next week or some with us actually showing how it works. There will be a bind for instantly opening a portal, assuming you have a portal scroll in your inventory.
Sick.
Oh, they're getting rid of the
Love
scrolls.
to
You
hear
just
it. All right.
hit T.
That's fantastic.
That's okay.
There's been another thing that's been mentioned. A lot in
Yeah,
chat,
Last
which
Epoch
is,
just has a button to open a portal.
Have any brief comments on the state of some of the lesser used ascendancies, like Gladiator, for example? Any potential reworks or improvements coming to them?
The end game, though, if you die, you can't go back in.
Want to. I always love.
So they're
that.
less useful.
And last
than
time,
Last
obviously,
Epoch.
with Chieftain, we missed the mark. But now during Affliction with the League meta, obviously Chieftain grew into fit a little bit with Fulcrum and whatnot. So it's kind of interesting that in last live stream we discussed that one not really hitting where we want, and now it's got a lot more uses. And maybe this coming league it'll have a lot less uses. We'll see. It's quite fun how the league changes what people play. However, yes,
yeah, that's a good midway.
Nice.
They're going to keep them at least.
We just have to.
I'm fine with it taking a portal scroll away.
Decide how much we can do and where we want to target it. We might.
Yeah, there we go. Get a cane.
Have a big discussion.
Identify all.
At the end of each league development and think, what are we going to do next? Look at the problems. Look at what we want to do, and we have a list that's bigger than we can do.
A book of identify.
Those things are on that list, and we have to weigh like, are we going to do option A or option B? And sometimes balancing an ascendancy class is overall less gain for the players than something else we want to do. Like if you would rather multiple Atlas trees and or a Gladiator rebalance, I would hope to think the majority of people are going to be picking the Atlas tree feature. Maybe not everyone, but again, it's better for the mass, and thus like that is what we do.
Stay a while.
Yeah, it is a resourcing issue at the end of the day. Like you can only do so much with what you have, but we do a lot. Like don't get me wrong. But yes, we would get there eventually. It will come up in one of the things, and it is something that we will commit to.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to wrap up Path of Exile 1 Q&A now. Thanks for the very long discussion session. I feel like we could chat about a lot of this stuff all day. Another thing I could talk about all day is Path of Exile 2. We're going to now be talking about Path of Exile 2, both the new reveals from today and some broader questions also. So let's dive into it. The star of the show today was the Ranger, which I had the pleasure of playing at the for a few hours myself, and it really showcases how much the impact of the WASD changes that movement system has had on the overall design of the game and skills. And I imagine now you've just like gone back and had to look at a bunch of different skills and think, how do we change this now to move?
And honestly, it wouldn't be incorrect to say that the WASD change is partly responsible for the delay of PoE 2 in some ways.
I thought so.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
After we changed that, it's like, oh geez, like, and it's like I almost knew this would even. It's like as soon as I was like playing it, I'm like, oh man, like there's gonna be so many things people are gonna want from this. And it's like, yeah, like you do something like that, and then now every class has to change a lot. And we haven't, I think, even yet still fully explored all the implications of that around for some of the different classes. But so like yeah, it's just changed a huge amount. And the thing is, as we look at each class again, it's like, well, like, so we at the demo we did in LA, we showed, which we didn't show here on stream, by the way, but there'll be footage of it coming out from the various streamers who were there. We also showed the fact that when we went back to the warrior again, which is a class we already showed, and then we were looking like we're playing around with WSD for melee, we kind of like immediately kind of had this like feeling of like, oh, now that we've got like facing direction being a thing, we'll be able to have active block now, because you can choose your facing direction. You can have a button to raise your shield up, and that will mean that that feels good with WSD too. So like that's another example of just like you add this, you go to another existing class, and like, oh man, now we could have this, and then you go to another class, and oh man, we could have this, and like it's just yeah, it's just kind of turned into this giant mountain of repercussions for everything. So yeah, it's been a bit crazy.
It seems like it's a really good option now for you to distinguish the classes and the skills further now too, because you can have like the slippery, elusive ranger where nearly all of its skills can be shot while moving, or you have the warrior where nearly everything is a bit more stationary, a bit more explosive in that regard. Have you found that?
Well, I don't know that don't know that I'd say that the warrior is particularly stationary, because every skill has movement in it. But what it does have is the fact that, and all the other thing as well is you don't lose control of your character either, even while you're moving. It's just that you're more. But it certainly is dangerous when you've got a slower skill, even when it's moving a bit. Like, so that double, sorry, it's called rolling slam now. The rolling slam skill, like you have to choose when to use that, and that is definitely a feature of the warrior that for the ranger you don't feel the same way, right? Like on the ranger you can definitely just kind of like you feel very free to move around all the time, and so like that is a hugely different feel. But at the same time, we always want to make sure that there's that feeling of like I've still got control of my character. I can still do what I need to do. So even when you've got like the sort of slower attacks on another class, there's still there's still like a feeling of control, or at least ideally there should be.
Elden Exile, I like that.
Yeah, like that's I guess that's sort of
Elden
really
Exile too.
You just never feel like you're losing control of your character.
How does the fact that like you'll have these differences in movement between different skills and potentially builds affect things like boss and monster design, and how do you like balance against classes that do have to stop a bit more?
This is the other big thing, is that like I tell Mark, hey, we're adding this now, and he's like, oh my god, we have to go through all the monsters again.
It was like it was dodge roll, and then it's like, oh no, like we have to go through and make sure like every monster, every skill, everything we have to go, can you be dodge rolled or can you not be dodge rolled?
Right.
And we have to make that decision. And then it's like, finally we got through all of them. And here's active block. I'm like, oh no.
Well, so yeah, because we've added now an indicator on attacks that implies they're unblockable. That means they're unblockable. But also, all the bosses have to make sure that there's the right ratio of blockable to unblockable attacks.
Yeah, this makes me kind of nervous if they add too many mechanics.
You cannot have the AoE look like one thing and it is actually another thing. Very bad. If you have a telegraph or anything and it looks like it's going to do a 20 radius and it does 30
I don't feel like
damage,
making videos and being like, all right, now this attack is rollable, but not blockable. This one is blockable, but not rollable. This one you can't block or roll it, so you have to dodge. Like, that's going to get hella annoying.
Same problem where you now don't trust that feature throughout the whole game. So it's like,
both to learn and to talk about.
You have to be
it's not exciting, that's annoying.
With it and just be like, should this be blockable? Should this not be blockable? You have to ask several people like what they feel, because sometimes it's in a gray area, and generally if it's in a gray area, you have to say yes, it is blockable because 50.
I'm assuming, yeah, the roll is just gives you iframes.
Holy, the amount of times you have to go through all those monsters and change everything is not low.
But then even with like moving while shooting on the ranger, because then once again you need to make sure the monster composition of each area has monsters that can catch up to you and hurt you even while you're moving, which is actually a little bit more complicated than initially seems, because just even the smallest amount of movement, like depending on what the monster attack times are, will cause you to not get hit. So then there's like a whole bunch of tweaking you have to do there as well.
There's a lot more monsters.
All right, Frizz, thanks for hanging out, man. Talk to you later.
As well to counteract this now. Right. So when they run up to you for the first time, in order to maintain momentum, the same thing the player does, they leap forward and attack, and that has the capacity to hit a moving target. But even projectiles on bosses, it's like if you are moving just a tiny bit, like a projectile's going to miss. And so now you have to think, okay, should it have predictive firing?
And
Or do we just have to increase the speed enough? Like
we've added tracking to way more possibilities. That like so the tracking has to be way tighter. So like with even with the first boss, we had to upgrade the tracking to like to target you so that you have to dodge roll way towards the end of the attack, because then the moment you've got moving while shooting on one
Travel
class,
safe.
it's like, well, that means that that class was just trivially moving away from that ability.
I'm gonna be doing patch
so
notes
suddenly
after
the boss
this
tracking
too.
has to get an upgrade, and like everyone kind of has this thing, but the repercussions have just been immense. But I think it is worth it.
It feels.
I kind of
so
just want them to
much
get
like
through this
so
because I
much
just want to
better
look at the
when we
patch
got
notes.
like 100%. Yeah.
We
That was
have
going to be my response. Like,
ample
the
amount of
hands-on,
time.
Like, the boss fights they feel incredible, and I noticed
Before
what you said. Where
PoE
you have to
2.
like you really have to get good at
Beta
skilling
probably won't be
the
around till
dodge because
Christmas
it needs
time.
to be right before it goes off, not like the early dodge, which is
Hey,
something
bro.
I'm much more used to doing. And in Path of Exile 1, you know, you only get hit when you stop
Nice.
moving, so I can see how
That's
that
what I
was
do at
like
work a lot of
an
times too.
issue here.
We
Just
are
pop on a
certainly
stream, put
getting
it in my
away from
headphone.
the just run in circles for 99% safety. And I think that is an absolutely amazing thing. You still kind of run in circles just because you do dodge generally in one direction over another, but like it's not just the like I am 100% safe while doing orbits around monsters or a boss. There's a lot less of that, which again makes everything just feel way more engaging, and you can't just. I mean, if you want to pause, you don't need to run in circles.
Oh yeah,
now.
that's
You
right.
can just
I keep
pause
forgetting
and,
it's in person.
you know, take a breather.
It's hard for me to keep
I know this
the
is like
YouTube and the
blown out
Twitch
the beta
name.
dates for you, and
There's
it's
only
been
2
a
people
lot
I
of
know,
work, but the net result
like
is
MV and Beast,
far
and that's
better.
just because he's been here
Well,
since like day 1.
I certainly think so. Like it's just like I felt really bad about missing that deadline, but like it's like at the end of the day, like if we have found a game that is better than the one we were making before, then we have to make that game instead of what we were making before, like regardless of if it pushes the date out. So yeah, like that's ultimately I think, and like to be fair, it wasn't just that. Like there certainly when we came to do polish, and it's interesting actually going back in. So it's been so long since we really polished the start of a game before. Like, and it's weird bringing back all the memories of what we actually did back in the early days of PoE 1 that I'd actually totally forgotten about. Like all the little details about actually doing that again. It's like it's actually kind of really interesting going back again and doing it. But I had forgotten what it takes to get the start of a game to feel good, and like it took longer to get Act 1 to a right state than we expected. The annoying part about it, especially, is that we kind of only really realized this as we had kind of, as you know, like I would say probably like a month and probably a month and a half ago that this wasn't going to happen in time. And we had already like booked in everything for the event that you went to, and then now we were like in this like ultra crunch scramble of like we have to get this to be good enough for all of these influencers who are going to be playing, like the game and recording it and so on, and ready for that. And I think that even what we delivered there, like even though I think like it was great if you like played in a similar way to what we have been, or things like that, like there were actually some balance holes you could fall into that meant you had a really bad time. And I do worry that some people kind of fell into those holes and like just didn't end up having a good time with it because like of that. And so that's kind of like probably one of the more eye-opening things to me is like there was way more variance in the experience than I was hoping for. Like some, as I said, just some people just like ended up with the like not finding good items, like not find like, or just like the skills they happened to pick, the combinations that were like ones that just didn't work as well as others and things like that. And so, that's a bit unfortunate. But if you did have the good experience, I think that like there were certainly people there who got the experience we wanted to show them. And it's really good to see that anyway. So hopefully you're one of the people who sort of, found that you had some good stuff going on. But I'm obviously very interested to hear more about your feedback in particular.
Yeah, that's the interesting question I kind of have from this, is that like there's no doubt this is a very difficult game. Path of Exile 2 is very challenging, but myself and a lot of the other creators I talked to really like enjoyed the way that the difficulty was done, and especially the boss fights I felt were incredible. I really, really enjoyed them, but it was very easy to see people who didn't have such a good time. And
So-
like, where do you want to try and get this game? Like,
So
and how do you
what
balance
I'm-
these two things?
It is very hard, and I think that it's especially hard due to the fact that because the bosses have learnable mechanics, like it's hard for me to go and have an objective like play session on another
you know it.
class because
Elden
I've already know the
Exile.
class, and so like that means that to
Bosses have
actually
learnable mechanics, so
find
they're
out, I have
hard,
to watch
but you
people
learn
play who
them.
haven't played
Every
before,
boss.
like play again, and that makes it really really hard. So like even like I will if the mechanics of the boss gets changed, I will then I will be dying, and like I think that's great. But once I'm no longer dying anymore, that doesn't necessarily mean there aren't still things that other people are gonna have trouble like learning or doing. But I think the worst one
I
is
love
that,
Souls
and that I think
games.
people ran into here as well.
And I love
Is that
Bloodborne and
there's
Elden
something
Ring.
about the item
Don't know
system
if I want too
to
much of that in my
now that's
ARPG.
leading to too much variance.
This isn't a Reese's chocolate
And
peanut butter
we're actually, I
situation.
was discussing with
They
Mark
can
before
stay
this,
separate.
what's going on there, because it's not obvious to me yet even why that is. Like the things like the amount of IPD you can get in a weapon and stuff like that, these are basically the same as what they were in PoE 1. We haven't really changed the mod pool very significantly. So like there's not a lot of changes there, and yet the experience that people are getting with regard to whether their items are good or not seems like the variance seems to be higher. So I need to like find out what's going on with that and like see if I can address it. But I think that what it might end up being is that we
Yeah.
have to try it. Like it can be subtle stuff like to do with quest rewards or like what's going on with the shop and things like that. Like we can give people tools to be able to fix their own itemization problems. So
I mean, I
fall
literally
into the
was
whole,
playing
I just didn't
Elden
find a
Ring all
weapon,
last
like
week,
that kind of problem,
and I would
like,
take a break and play
sucks.
Last Epoch or
I think
D4
it's the issue
to get
with
away
small
from
sample
that.
size, right? Not
I
not
don't
in terms
need.
of the number of players, but in
I
terms
don't
of the
need
number of
that in
items you're
my
getting. Like
PoE
there's a scarcity
as
to the
much.
items in
I
PoE
haven't
2,
played
which
it, so
overall
I can't
felt
say
really good,
much.
but it does mean that when there's like generally a lower number of items dropping,
Right.
there's
That
a
means
bit more
there's
chance that one player will have a rare bow and the other one
Yeah.
will have a white bow.
There's definitely that element, but the hope is that gold would help with that.
Yeah.
So that you can use gold to effectively
it did.
well, you get to choose your own dropper. I don't know how much you engaged with the shop in particular,
did,
but
yeah.
like knowing to go to the like, 'cause that's the thing. Like in PoE 2, the
If
shops
I would
are
have
a
just
lot
started
more
my
because they actually have
channel
good items in
for
them, like
PoE
the shop,
content like a
it's
year
like
earlier, I feel like I
majority
could have
orders
weaseled
and
my way
above,
into an LA
in the
invite.
shop.
But I've only been
So,
making content for
yeah, like
PoE for 11
that
months
sort of
now.
helps. But
I think my first video was in the
yeah, it's
beginning
like
of
that sort of
May
stuff,
of
like,
last year, so it hasn't even been a year since I started making
that I
PoE
would say is
content.
that and this is another one which I'm not sure about, but it's sort of interesting to me, is that when we've been doing our first time user experience testing, the feedback has not actually been that the difficulty is too high. And I think that might be partly to do with like an expectation calibration, where it's like, because these people in those tests have not played PoE before, they're not expecting anything one way or the other about how difficult of an experience it is.
I don't know, man. Try's videos get on Asmongold's
The
channel.
difficulty actually, which seems kind of counterintuitive.
I haven't quite made it yet. I don't
Like,
make.
a new player's actually
I don't
like,
make
"Oh, the
shit worth
difficulty's
talking
fine,
about though.
like,
I make
it's a difficult
strategy
game," you know
videos
what I mean?
mostly.
Whereas like
Mostly
PoE
farming
1 player
videos
might
and
be like,
beginner
"This is so
videos.
much harder than PoE 1," which is like kind of a weird situation that I did not expect before doing this event that we just did. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting one as well. But yeah, there's quite a lot of things there that are going on. But yeah, we really have to get that nailed, and it's going to require, I think, a lot of good alpha testing and things like that as well to make sure that everything there is good.
It might be a thing where it's something you have to approach with a safety net mindset, where you have like things like you mentioned having some gold so that the safety net can be items from the
I agree.
shop. And
agree.
another
'Cause
idea that myself and a bunch of the other creators kind of discussed at the event was the idea of like having a slow passive flask charge generation, so that as a safety net, players who are struggling in a boss fight can play defensively and slowly get flasks back that they can use to keep it stay alive.
There, I mean, I
it's not hard to get on an Asmongold video. You say something relatively controversial, you put a clip of him talking in the video, and you post it on his Reddit.
For sure.
That's how you sell out for an
there's video
Asmongold
footage
review. But
that
I
I've
don't
seen
feel the
of
need to
people
do that.
killing some of the bosses, like still actually just like 10-second boss kills because they upgraded like to their bow or mace or whatever to like something like with an alk that was very juicy, and like things like that going on. So the top end is still absolutely possible to like.
Plus,
really
you ever looked
fix
at
it.
some of the comments
But
in
it's that
fucking
bottom end, like
Asmongold
people
stream?
falling into holes that
They're so ignorant
that
and
I'm
dumb.
concerned about right now.
I don't really want those
It's a
people in my
fascinating, like,
Twitch
design
chat
problem
and
to
all that,
approach
anyways.
Right.
This with Path of Exile 2, and I'm super interested in seeing how you guys have been evolving it and will continue to evolve it. Something I also noticed about like difficulty was, and it certainly came up at ExileCon, was the issue of stuns, getting stunned by monsters, just how brutal they can be. I felt like it was definitely better here. I don't know if it was just me getting better or
I
if you
mean,
guys tuned it a bit.
changes were made, so it should have
Yeah.
been better.
Okay. But it still was something that the thing that stood out to me the most was like getting stunned while mid-air using escape shot on the ranger. And I
That
maybe
should
one.
not be the case. There should be iframes in that skill, certainly.
Okay, so
yeah,
maybe
I
that's
think that might
missing or
just
not
be
going
Yeah.
right.
We did have a discussion recently where a number of those like
I
jumping
don't
skills
mind
should effectively
Asmongold.
be
Like,
kind of considered
he has
to
some
dodge
good
rolling.
takes. There's some shit
just
I
needs-
watched that I
we need
don't
to add
agree
it.
with
It
him
can just
on,
get a bit abusive.
Cool.
but not
Because
to
it
an
can just be like,
extreme where it's
jump,
like, fuck
jump,
this dude.
jump,
It's just kind of
jump,
like,
and
all right, I
so we
definitely
need
do
to
not
figure
agree with him
something
on
out
this,
with that
but
just to make sure it's not like.
I don't have a
you
problem
know,
with Asmongold. He's got some,
that was
he's
my
got some
question,
decent takes a
actually,
lot of
was
the time.
like these skills. Have you considered the idea of them having
Some of his
like
viewers,
when
though,
you
are
are
fucking
winding
dumb.
up, you can be stunned, and when
A
you're
lot of his
winding
views
down, you can be stunned. But
Yeah.
while
It
you're
would
in
have
the
to be. It
air,
would have
you're
to be
that
this
I
short
disagree with him
window in
on
there,
Yeah.
so
are
you can
very
feel like
clearly
you're
because even
literally,
though he
like,
says he's
5
being
meters in the
fair
air.
That'd be good. Yeah.
and he isn't
getting-
influenced by
getting
other
hit.
things and he's always
Yeah,
speaking
yeah.
common sense, you can
Sometimes
tell
it did
the
look
fact that he
cool
grew up in
and brutal. I'm like, okay,
Texas
Wolf would do this like
is
lunge
definitely
attack and swat
influencing
me
a
out of
lot
the
of the
air.
things he
And I was
says.
like,
Yeah,
Whether
it's
he wants to
probably
believe
make
it
it
is
so
or
that,
not.
like when you're 1 meter in the air, you can still get hit, but as you're above that, then that's when the time when it doesn't.
Oh,
It also
now-
looks a bit silly. It also looks a bit silly when you get frozen when you're
Mhm.
5 meters in the air as well. So, that one.
we need
didn't see
fall
that one.
damage.
Oh yeah, fall damage. Sure.
Yeah,
why
for the
not?
wrong reasons. That's how you get the ignorant people
We're
in.
gonna have to
You
push
make
away
fun of
that unit
Asmongold.
design like
That would
full
get me on the
seals,
wrong side.
and full damage and
Well, I
the
mean,
extra
people
damage
haven't.
from
I don't
height.
know. Have we even
Fast
shown
track.
any
Be
of
doing a
the
harassment
cutscenes yet?
speed
Because
run.
we might not have.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm not too sure.
There are multi-story dungeons and that where you can see from one floor to the other in PoE 2. I don't know if we even showed that anywhere, but anyway, whatever.
So it's certainly a shame about the delayed beta, though. It's pretty understandable given it's not like you hear about the idea of like feature creep in a lot of game design, but here it's kind of the opposite, where it's like core game design creep.
Right.
It's like you guys have discovered things that you want to do way more impressively with the core game, right? But for looking forward to the beta, what will the beta end up looking like? Actually, I've been curious about this. Will it be like a full campaign, a partial campaign? Will there be end game?
Yep.
Any
All
thoughts
of
on
that.
that? Yeah,
So
just
basically, we want so okay. Look, the intention here is that there's no point getting feedback on something. Well, I suppose it's entirely true given what we just did. But if the game isn't if I don't think it's good, there's no really a lot of point getting feedback from other players. And so what I'm saying with that is that we okay, what I'm really going for here is okay, when we release the game, I want it to feel like I think it's a complete game from end to end and that it's a great experience. And then at that point, we get players to try it and see. Like, I think that betaing just like one act or something, the only value that you could have in that is something like a load test or something like that. But I don't think you can actually get like proper feedback for the whole game. So to me, you have to have the whole game. Maybe we don't have to have every single class, but I definitely think you have to have at least the campaign and the end game there. Now in the beta, what we won't have is so we'll have an end game in the beta, but it won't include all the end game content that the final game will have. But it will have an end game because you need that in order to be able to test the economy properly and so on, right? Like we need to know what happens when people get to max level and all of that other stuff. That has to be there. So I want that game to certainly the beta should feel like here is a full game. I could have just I could have just bought this as a new release and that and it would feel that good. But of course the main thing is that we need to be able to the reason why we'll call it a beta is because we need to be able to still make balance changes and be free with that, right? Because if we couldn't do that, then that would kind of defeat the purpose. So we absolutely need to have the freedom to still make balance changes after that point, but it should still feel like the complete game. This is the game, right? Sure, maybe it's missing a couple of classes, but that is the game with everything there you'd expect from a full game to have.
That's good to hear because, I think the difficulty with giving feedback after ExileCon was that they were pre-built characters, and that kind of misses the point of the game because character building is such a big part of the game, right? With this event,
this is the reason why we want to do the LA event and actually get people like yourself to really try that. Once again, we got some really interesting information from that, looking at that, because there were more holes than I expected. So there's clearly more work to do there.
we got to build
yeah.
characters, and you got to see stuff that you didn't expect, like
Yeah, for
shield
sure,
being
for
used in
sure,
ways
for
you
sure.
didn't expect and stuff.
For sure, for sure.
That was pretty cool. You're like, oh, I didn't think anyone would use that skill that way.
Well,
I
the
was like,
one that was the most annoying, that was a
Oh yeah,
total
I just
bug,
noticed that.
was the crossbow.
3 months
Like,
up.
there
Thanks,
was some
man.
balance on the crossbows
Appreciate
that
the
was like
support.
left in there from when we did the
Girl, why
Act
am I?
5 demo.
Oh,
where,
because
like,
I'm on a different
like,
scene that doesn't have the
and then
alerts.
that all just kind of like fell back all the way to Act 1, and then no one, people forgot to like actually balance that properly again. And the reason why is because like we didn't even the crossbows have their own skills built in, and the balance of those was not really correctly working with all of the regular scaling that we do for other weapon types.
I thought
And
so,
so
yeah.
yeah, so someone found one of those and then just proceeded to shotgun all the bosses down in like 5 hits.
Default attack and
Yeah,
crossbows.
yeah, and
Don't
when I
nerf
saw
it.
that, I was like, oh my god, this was not how this was supposed to go.
It's exactly how it should
Yeah,
go.
so there's a few mistakes like that in there as well.
And then you make a video on it.
Yeah, these things happen. These things happen. So I think people are immensely curious about seeing endgame. We haven't seen any real endgame for this yet. What is it going to look like? What a character build's going to look like? How fast is the gameplay going to be?
We want
Is this something
patch
I can
notes.
speak on or show soon?
I mean, we will definitely have to be showing it soon, but I think that a lot of it comes down to when we're finally able to really play through the whole game legit and like, you know, and get there, because you just need to make sure that you're feeling the power progression as you go through the game going up and up. One thing that we haven't really been showing a lot until the Ranger demo just now was actually using support gems. Like we just haven't really been showing too much of it. And in the Ranger there, we
That'd be
finally
funny if
showed,
this
like, a
guy
couple
right
there,
here,
but that certainly was
or
not
girl,
enough
I
to
can't tell,
signal to
whoever's
anything
long
for
hair,
what it's going to be in in-game.
like forgets that they can see his
even
screen
just
on
with,
stream.
like,
You just see him
in the
like
Ranger
browsing
demo there, when you
Facebook and
started to add,
shit.
like, multi-project
That'd
chain to a
be
couple
that'd be a
things, you
great
start
meme.
to see the kind of like, you know, crazy power that you expect.
He's
to
like
see
reading
from
through
PoE.
Reddit.
And so it will certainly go even crazier than that. I guess what's harder to say is, okay, like I don't want it to be just like the whole screen is covered to the point where you can tell you can see nothing about what is going on. Like it needs to still be like, you know, at a somewhat, like, just from a visibility perspective, it needs to look reasonable, even if you are like, you know, covering the screen in lightning explosions. There still needs to be some understanding of what the hell is actually happening. So yeah, like we want the feeling of power, like you want that fantasy of like I'm becoming a god. But we also need to try and make it so that there's still like some level of counterplay and interest in using different skills and like having a good time with a boss, even while you're feeling that way. And so that is the challenge, and that, you know, that's what we have to try and hit.
I look forward to seeing how it plays out, because yeah, if I have any fear, it's actually that like you lose some of that impactful moment-to-moment gameplay that you're actually starting to capture with the earlier stages of the game.
Yes. Well, that is a concern, and what I want to try and not have. Like, I do want the boss fights to still feel very engaging, and I still even want, like, even in maps, I still want it so that there are sometimes white monsters where you're like, I have to do a bit of counterplay against this. Like, you know, that to happen just sometimes. Like it's so like just not all the time, but just sometimes that can kind of happen.
It harkens back to like the early days of Path of Exile, where just devourers were scary, right? Like the monster type devourers were scary, and I felt that with like the werewolves in this one. The werewolves are just scary. They're fast,
Well,
man.
my favorite monster right now in the demo, you know, the Eternal. I don't know if you fought against them or remember them, but the Eternal Knights in in the Mausoleum and Tomb are the ones that have a shield, that they're just walking forward with a shield up, and if you hit them, then they shoot a projectile back at you, and so you have to find a way. So you have to find a way to kind of attack them without attacking them from the front, because they've got 100% block there. So you either attack them with an AoE skill from behind, or attack them from above, or like use a DJ.
Man, this really is turning into a Souls game.
And as soon as I fought one of those, because I actually had
Confirmed.
not known that Mark was adding that mechanic to that monster. And as soon as I fought that, I like messaged him like, "Man, that monster is so cool!" Like it's just really cool to sometimes have monsters like that just like, you're like, "Oh shit, I have to think for a second," you know. I'm a fan.
Just specifically in that case, you when something is blocking, they still take stun damage, so they can still get
stun them. You can stun them out of it.
Good.
But you can also walk up to them and they start attacking, and then walk back and then attack them.
And then he'll have a moment in his animation where the shield goes more out like that, and then the blocking is disabled.
Right.
I did not figure that out.
But also, if you use lightning arrows, you can like AoE them from behind, or like, you know, there's the poison burst, which will poison the guy even though he didn't take damage from the hit. And like there's so many ways, but it's like kind of interesting to have stuff like that.
Yeah. People noted the poison on the live globe. Is there other like display of these sorts of effects on characters?
I do want to do more of those. That was added really recently, and it was weirdly cool. Like, I didn't expect that change to matter as much as it mattered.
Yeah.
But it actually really does, and having more visibility for those different effects is really important. So I definitely want to do more. Like, I think that there's definite candidates for shock and ignite and stuff like that, and bleeding, of course. Bleeding being a one of those ones that would be good to have more visibility on. Like things like that. I think absolutely. I mean, increasing visibility of those mechanics, I think, is super important. Yeah, like we'll definitely do more of that, and I don't think we've exploited like the UI to the degree that we could have before. So like, yeah, just that simple, just make the life orb green when you're poisoning something. Just, yeah, it's weird how much it matters.
Yeah.
So
I also
it's
noticed
cool.
enemy mobs had better signaling of
Correct.
their effects as well, like a shield if
Correct.
they were protected or whatever by certain things.
Correct. And I want to do even better.
Yeah.
Like, I noticed, I was just, like, I think there's more we can do around like feedback for when the, for when your hit's not working, and I think there's like other stuff like that. Like, there's just tons of stuff that we should do better there. Yeah, it's yeah, as I said, these little tweaks, they matter a lot, so it's cool.
All right. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to both
Oh,
of you.
thank
Thank you
God.
very much for your extended time for the Q&A. I know people are
problem.
eager to go check out the patch notes and also all of the content that's released from the LA, as that embargo is up now. So
all right, so hopefully people are watching videos and
yeah,
and seeing what's going on.
So we will say see you later then, and thanks very much
Excellent.
for watching, folks.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
very much, everyone.
Yeah. See you later.
See ya.
All right.
Oh, I don't see him yet. There it is. Alright, let me get some caffeine. I'll be right back. Penance brand. Activates every 0.75 tax, previously 0.6.
For artillery ballista, elemental
0.65, no 6.
ice shot, incinerate, kinetic blast, poisonous concoctions, summon holy relic, and tornado. I'm assuming we're not going to get those. New currency, veiled scares, which reveals a random scare when clicked. That's cool. Chat, yo, what up, Sark?
Oof. Oof. Well, you got more physical damage at level 20. Yeah, that's a pretty big nerf. Sorry, Corp. We already heard about this. I mean, yeah, I don't know because I didn't play it, but it was so damn strong. But it's definitely a pretty substantial nerf. They cut the hits with effects dead in half. That seems pretty extreme. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. 7 uniques. Oh no, these are the ones that were added to drop pool. Oh no, yeah, these are the new ones. Because I think pragmatism was the jewel, right? With the passive skills. Sacred Wisp, we went on, saw that. Automation, Call to Arms, I saw that. Yep. Veiled Scarab, which reveals a random scarab when clicked. It's pretty cool. Stacks 20. Exalts Regal Divine, Stack Dex, Crusaders. Dope. Yeah, this is good. They should have made everything 20 from the jump. So these, I'm assuming... Okay, so these are the new fragments for summoning the Uber bosses. Yep, minimap. Yep. Changed where the movement speed recipe is. That's all good. City of Sarn, so I'm assuming that's a lot quicker, right? I forget when you got the movement speed recipe. More Valdo's maps. They added 14 new uniques. New trade notification sound increased the volume of the party invitation. Oh, I like that. Good. Yeah, the other one was way too quiet. Oh, it's later. Oh, you got that super early, that, Cosmic Moon's Memento Mori, Thirst for Knowledge, Insatiable Appetite, Throw the Gauntlet, and the Perfect Storm. As keys and passive have been removed, sad we have added a new set of fragments that can be used to access the Uber Pinnacle bosses. Fragments can be obtained from the Sector 17 maps. These maps give you access to the Uber Pinnacle content. They also test your characters in new ways. Teach your new set of bosses, Uber monsters, new tier. Right. Have 20% quality and are unmodifiable off the get-go for tier 17. The 5 new tier 17. Darkseer unique scepter now has +2 level spell skill gems. Alright, so Darkseer unique scepter got an upgrade. Can roll higher. Yeah, they did talk about that. Frenzy Power Buster, Malka's Mark unique gloves. Don't get terms in here. Mana Storm now has mana recovery from flasks and blah blah blah. Now it's supposed to... So that got a buff. I don't know if people use it more though. This sounds dope. How rare was the Wraithlord helm? Where'd you used to get that from? Oh damn, 7C map Delirium? That's not bad at all. What, it used to be like 12 or something like that? $14. Damn. So they cut it in half. That's nice. Wraithlord, this is dope. Especially for like SRS, when you get a ton minions added chaos damage. That means it can free up a belt slot, which means... Hey, what up, Skullbash? Yeah, this helm is dope. You can hit... Yeah, you can free up your belt slot, but then again, the belt doubles it, so it's technically like having 4 of them. But you could stack them both. Okay, Yoke Suffering. What skill Skullbash didn't get nerfed that you use? You can get... Each type of element you have. So that got a buff. Now complete distinct unique item drop pulls from the non. Yep, that's a good move. Place 5 of the same fragment in the map device to challenge the relevant Uber Pinnacle boss. Oh, okay, so it takes 5 fragments to summon the Uber. Are the fragments tradable? Probably, right? They gotta be. Oh, the 5th slot in the map device is now just completing a tier 17. You don't have to do Legion anymore. That's actually nice. Might make it a little harder depending on how hard the T17s are. Void times each now have a tier 16 maps dropped in areas of tier 7 for each socket of Void Stone. So 2% chance it marks Void Stones. So you get 1 per every 50 maps at max Void Stones. That might be kind of annoying. At a game we have increasing complexity. Blink Arrow Bombard, nice. Yeah, true, now that Sextants are gone. You need that map slot pretty heavily. More power into Scarabs. You can no longer earn over and successfully these masters have been through. Oh, you only get masters from the tree now. You can't earn them from completing maps, it looks like. Oh, so they're introducing the Bale Scarab just because they needed a way to change the Wake Sextants and all that into something. Previous source of Sextants as words, region incursion, and Sextants offered for purchase by character, replaced with Scarabs. Okay, so I'm assuming that also means Sanctum. So they're replacing the Awakened Sextant rewards with Scarabs. That's what I assumed they would do. Hey, Eric. That's a good question. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. Existing... Oh, there we go. Valid Scarabs upon completion. Alright. Yeah, that's fine. If Scarabs are going to be super important, that might just even out. It might be a nerf, but we'll see. We'll see like what the price on Scarabs is going for. It is annoying because then that means using a Veiled Scarab means you're getting a whole bunch of different types of Scarabs. and it means you either sell them in bulk or that's more trading, and that is a huge pain in the ass. So yes, even if it's even, it still sucks because you're getting less raw currency. You can do one trade easily. So that is a nerf. That might suck, but we'll see if they did anything to Sanctum though. We go down. Crucible passive tree that causes an item to sell for an additional sextants instead. Sell for 2 of each cartographer scarab depending on the tier. Autos maps that chance to convert maps to charge compasses instead of chance to convert maps to scarabs. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, that's the sextant ones are disabled. Anything interesting? All scarabs are now world drops and no longer have tiers. Some might be rarer than others. Oh, really? So betrayal for scarab farming. While the system is allowing you to heavily invest in one type of content, it is reducing your capacity for variety. To address this, we've massively increased access to content on the Atlas tree. You're not able to reliably access different content like Breach of Legion solely from your atmospheres. Yeah, we saw that. They buffed the chances. Yeah, the masters can appear at the same time. Scarabs now stacking 20s. Following divination grows in 10%. Yeah. So yeah, I guess Uber Maven, you need 5 of those fragments now. We have no way of knowing if that makes invitations higher or lower. Oh, that means invitation farming is dead. The nerf snipers, Mark. I'm sure. Shit, yeah, that sucks. I'll have to see how much they nerfed it. Also label your sets easily to find which one has which content. Multiple Atlas trees. Oh, you can just change the label. Got it. During a Cops League, there will be support for the League on the Atlas Pass tree. We've added 4 clusters. Yep, saw that. Prosperous Rager, which fights all corpses with unresolved anguish, reveals a random craft when buried. Yep. I don't know why you'd use that to randomize everything. That sounds a little counterintuitive. Fear of the Light. Haunted modifiers are applied randomly to packs in your maps. Have a 25% chance to have an additional haunted modifier. Cannot be found in your maps. Okay. I don't know if that'll be worth it yet. I guess we can look at these when we see the full tree. 3 new scarab clusters. Have 2 small passive rank, 4% increased scarabs found in your maps, and 9 Atlas passive that cause scarabs in your maps to be 100% more likely to be either Essence, Beyond, Cartographer, Anarchy, Ambush, Domination. Okay, more scarabs from bosses. Unique monsters in your maps at 200%. Increased chance to rub scarabs, all the 2 passives each small. 4% increased scarabs. Alright, so yeah, Scarab League, you're right. A new scarab cluster. Some more scarabs, increased effective modifiers in maps. Alright, so 3 of so more Chiseled Perfection, so it gives you more effective modifiers per your 5% quality. So that's how. 8% chance to contain alpha. Yeah, so they're just adding more clusters on the Atlas passive tree that make the masters appear more often. I'm not 100% sure what this means. 50% chance for your beast to break free. Gain bestial rage, and defeating beast gains hunter's cunning per bestial rage. On the defeated target, the 2 small passes clusters provide. That's confusing. I'll have to see in the future what that does. Syndicate members obtain equipment appearing from maps, 20% more rarity of items. From defeated syndicate members. Alright, so that's just your June reward. New Beyond. Gain demonic power in defeating a Beyond boss in your maps. The entrance passive is classified as 4% chance. Your maps to attract Beyond monsters cause Beyond portals to have merging radius, and the small ones give you merging radius. And there's your Einhar passive. Makes the bosses harder, or the beasts harder. Yeah, they're switching up the strongbox passives a little bit. Oh, wow. 100% chance to drop a Conqueror map, previously 30%. Damn. Ooh, that's interesting. Instead of your essences are a tier higher, it guarantees that one of the essence will be at the highest possible tier. That's pretty dope. Now cause a map boss to be granted a random essence modifier, blah blah blah, cause the resist corruption used in prison. To replace all essences one of the essences on the imprisoned monster. Wait. Oh damn, yeah, an essence on the map device. That's interesting. This crystal resonance passive. Get rid of some quantity and incursions for a chance of finding Alva. Some more incursions nodes. More contain Alva. Higher chance to contain Nico. Oof. That's kind of a nerf. No more copy chance for beasts. More June. Underground Kingdom got a little bit of a buff. Yeah, so basically just across the board, they made it the chance to find certain mechanics higher. Yeah, you didn't miss much. A couple larger changes, but the gist so far is that they're making the chances to get the mechanics you want higher. Yeah, a lot higher. 25 And then 3 12s. So what are we looking at? 36 plus 25. So that's a, what, 61% chance right there? Just from one cluster, 61% chance to contain a delirium mirror. So yeah, that's just going over that they are buffing all the chances to find stuff. Lessons models can now spawn up to a maximum tier of screaming. Oh wow, no more white map farming essences. No more white map farming essences. They're nerfing a lot of the tried and true videos I did. Bunch of stacked dicks is what they are. Oh, they got rid of the gilded to wing scarab bestiary recipe. Crazy. Yep, we know about that one. Yep, we know about that one. Omens are now offered as ritual rewards. Oh. Alright, that's a ritual buff. The one, the Omen of Omnipotent, or no, what was it called? The one where you lose less experience for dying actually ended up being kind of pricey mid-league, so that's a little bit of a buff. We'll see if people play it and if omens go up higher again, or they might just be cheap as hell now, and this literally does nothing for ritual. Maps now drop from map your boss 14 and above, previously tier 11 and above. Now level 81. The Cortex map can no longer drop from Atlas map bosses. Ah. The Forgotten now have a chance to drop a unique Cortex synthesized map. That's interesting. So what did they do with that node then? What'd they remove? Kept Strand. Kept Tropical Island. Good, no Coliseum. They got rid of Mesa. That sucks. Damn it, get rid of Coliseum and Arena. Hate those fucking maps. Desert Spring, Dungeon, great. Pit, Paris, Graveyard. Oh, did they get rid of... No. Alright, Cemetery's still there. A lot of people enjoy that. Yeah, or Strand. Strand on a Delion device. But yeah, Tropical Island, obviously you get the better altars. Oh my god. Much fucking better. I think they cut this by like a third, if not a fourth. Then again, it's easier to get a ritual encounter because they upped all the chances on the Atlas passive. So that's why these are cheaper. Everything's cheaper because you wouldn't use them. Oh shit, they capped Soul Eater? Wait, does that count for Headhunter? It does? Shit. Not gonna lie though, 45 is still pretty damn good. Oh, wait, you don't get their buffs anymore? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Did they just completely destroy Headhunter? Is this shit worthless now? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. So they don't count Headhunter as giving you Soul Eater. It's just one of the buffs you can get. Okay, that makes more sense. I thought they just completely destroyed Headhunter. Want to be raised above 90%. Can only be about a left click. The only light no immigrants. Yeah, this is a... This is a buff. Chance to apply Wither. Sever and Sleep is probably still best in slot on SRS though, huh? Poison SRS. But this will help it so you don't absolutely need it, right? With 25% chance to apply Wither on hit and converting to Chaos. Although the Sever and Sleep will still probably be best in slot. Because it gives you such a huge Chaos damage buff, right? That aura is what that does. I forgot what it does exactly. Alright, skill dem changes. See, he'll just go over the ones. While lightning static can be used by totems, blood blast stagger. A little bit of a damage buff, Blade Flurry of Incision. Another buff. Trap of Great Swords, that's another buff. It's a nerve. Didn't really use any of these or hear anything about them. I guess that's probably why they're getting a buff. Nothing crazy yet. Ooh, Flicker Strike of Power got a crit chance increase per power charge. Maybe people actually use it now. Frostblades deals 20% more. That's nice. Damage buff for Frostblink. People sleep on Frostblink. It doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, but it's super helpful for just blowing up white mobs as you're just trying to rush through shit. General's Cry got a cooldown buff. Connect Bolt Fragmentation no longer has. Increase and reduction in spell damage also apply to attack damage from the scale 200% of their value. Quality now causes projectiles to change direction 0 to 1 times. I have no idea. Just seems like a nerf. I can't tell. Less damage, but change directions. Penance Brand. Yeah, we saw this. We were reading this. 0.75 down to 0.6, so that's a 20% nerf right there. Around. Big nerf. You don't think it got nerfed enough? I don't think they should just nuke something. Maybe it'll get nerfed a little bit farther next patch, but this is still a pretty substantial nerf, it looks like. Rain of barrels of artillery got a little buff. Nobody used this. Zombies created are no longer usable by detonate dead. I didn't even know people were doing that. That sucks that they got rid of that. That sounds pretty cool. Shrapnel ballistic steel. Oh yeah, here we go. Sniper's mark. Take increased damage from projectile hits at level 1 unchanged. 29%. Previously 35. Yeah, that's a pretty big nerf. Not crazy. People still use it. Spark front predictability now has effectiveness of added damage previously. Stormbrand of Indecision got nerfed. Some Raging Spirit. Oh. Some Raging Spirit. The Raging Spirit's melee attack no longer naturally gains damage as it levels. What? Well, we end up doing it by added chaos damage anyways. Well, shit, but then the physical to chaos conversion. So this is a nerf. That sucks. Nobody cares about the golems. Ooh, tornado shot. Text speed multiplier of 80. Oh, they reverted this. Now it's back up to projectile speed. Set up another projectile. So a little bit of a nerf. It's still strong as hell. The little bit more mana cost isn't going to make that big of a difference. Belt's out dead. Summon Sentinel's Radiance granted by the Guardian's Radiance. Uh-oh. So this probably needed a nerf. But it doesn't look like it really did. Got a 33% damage nerf. It's still going to be strong as hell for leveling. Mindless Aggression. On custom zip 10% increase movement. Alright, so that's a huge nerf. Yeah, that's a pretty big nerf. That's shitty. Alright, Call to Arms has been renamed to Warlord's Call. Now fights no longer exert attacks. Previously using Warkai's instant. Oof, I know. Yeah, it hurts to read that. So yeah, now the mines detonate while you're moving. There you go, effect for each mine. No longer has 15% increased mana regeneration. That was 50% increased maximum mana. Ralakash boots no longer provide increased movement speed. Ouch. Ralakash and Patience, those are the charge boots, right? Or is that a different Ralakash boots? Ouch. So that's pretty shitty. I don't know what the extractor mantis unique amulet is. 10% chance to gain chaotic might for 10 seconds on Q. Iron Mask unique sword no longer has chance to. This weapon is this provided by the Unholy Might buff. Change effect 660 version now has increased physical damage. So they just bumped the physical damage and got rid of the withered. Exclusive version is what. Alright, we know this one. The Void is now considered a boss exclusive divination card. Has a chance to drop from the Shaper of the Elder. Well, that's lame. And be used in items that are corrupted. Oh, that's just annoying. Corrupted items don't drop as identified anymore. Why? That's stupid. The veiled modifier for its reduced mana cost of skills during effect. What? Did they just fucking kill my cast on crit ice spear build? Are you kidding me? Come on. Well, that just fucking bummed me out. That's stupid. Well, might have to think of something else to play once I get a Mage Blood. Corruption outcome for maps that haven't been replaced with a corruption outcome. That's an implicit. Yep, there are now 3 tiers of additional elemental resistance during effect. Previously 5. Holy shit. A lot of Mage Blood nerfs. Huge Mage Blood nerfs. Are you kidding me? This is fucking stupid. So cast on crit builds are just got a massive debuff, and some of them you aren't even gonna be able to play well with all the mana problems you're gonna have. That pisses me off. Increase lightning damage. Did they add anything to deal with mana? Nerfed a bunch of them. That's the gist of it. Balanced them because they're not in the league, but they are core. Make them a little weaker, which is what everyone expected them to do if they brought them in. Ruthless specific changes. Yeah. Yeah, they're back. Well, that sucks. I liked everything and didn't really care about most shit. And then they nerfed the ability to make mana a lot less annoying. Which means we will absolutely have, if we play the Ice Spear build, cast on crit Ice Spear, we're 100% going to have to get the nodes that leech and give mana on hit. Wait, shit, will that even do it? Yeah, that should do it. Can't get reduced costs. Yeah, and drop an aura. That's annoying. Even if you drop an aura, though, you rip through mana. And you can't roll reduced mana cost on jewels anymore, apparently. That's such a stacked dick move. They need to just accept that mana, huge, like, mana. I know it's a mechanic in the game, but they really need to admit it's not fun to have to constantly be looking at, like, your energy. Like, if you want an example, go play Druid in Diablo 4. That's fucking cancer. Those are all ruthless changes. So huge Mage Blood nerfs. Getting max resistances is going to be a hell of a lot more annoying once you get a Mage Blood. Actually, just in general. Those changes seemed like they weren't needed. I don't know. Anyone else see anything that they liked or pissed them off? Should have known better when they said they're increasing it by 2.5 times. Wait, did they even say in here? To 2 words? Didn't they say they did it by 2.5 times? They didn't put this in the patch notes that they increased the drop. But they did say because Corp, you said you heard it, that they 2.5 times the drop rate for Mage Blood and Headhunter. I mean, with the thing that makes it so cards have a 20% chance to drop in stacks. Okay. That's gonna fill it more, so I guess with that I had a feeling they were gonna change something, but I didn't think they were gonna do it by completely removing the mana thing. Big meanies. And this is Friday the 9th, right? Or the 29th? They have the timer on here. 8 days. Yep. Wait, Solar Supporter's $30. Isn't that cheaper than they usually have? A lot cheaper. Didn't the highest supporter pack used to be like $400 or $500? Oh, here we go. Core supporter packs. Oh, they got a lot of... Oh, wait. Is this the previous league? Yeah, that's the previous league. Yeah, because that's the one I bought. So they just don't have a high... They don't do core packs every year? Oh. I thought they did a core pack every league. I never used to buy these. I think I'm gonna have to get this one. Because I think I'm short like $90 to $100 underneath the $500 price point. I have to look again. I did the math. I should have wrote it down. Because I remember it was super annoying to see. I'll have to look up again how to look at it. The transaction history. Oh, I'm not logged in. Is that it? Yeah. There it is. When did I first buy something in Path of Exile? I didn't even buy a stash tab as my first thing. I immediately bought a mystery box with my gambling ass in 2015. 9 years ago. Then I started buying stash tabs. I must have just barely even played the game. I must have just played the game, got a mystery box, and then like didn't really play it for 2 years. And then I didn't buy anything for 4 years. Yeah, the turtle hideout's so cool, but I love changing the picture on my hideout too. So it's gonna be a hard decision. Probably switch on and off. I'll probably change to the pictures for the videos, and then for the streams, I'll switch to the turtle. There, figured it out. And you can buy these now and use them in the game. Four elephants? What do you mean? We need the Elefantes for Discord hideout. Maybe... You know what I probably should do? Maybe instead of spending the money on this, maybe I should see how much it is for guild slots, and I can start a guild for the people that want to join. Because it would be nice to have a Safe on Talk guild, then we can have a guild stash. Help people out. PoE, how to make... Actually, here, Copilot. Screw it. Oh, wait. Maybe I should just click on the PoE link. Oh, well, that's a forum link anyways. Google create a Tuin. Oh, yeah. Oh, he has elephants on his back. That's dope. Is he who they reference in the It movie, the newer one? I guess they don't call him that. Oh, Maturin, they call him in this. Or wait, I imagine to get more slots for the guild and add more tabs in the guild stash, I'm assuming you can use the points. And if I buy this, like the highest pack, I'll get $90 worth of points, which I can then use for the guild. So I guess it wouldn't matter. I guess I'd probably do it that way. And you can probably use points for more slots. So I guess it wouldn't matter. I should probably still buy the slots and the points. Maybe I'll set that up tonight. I'll buy the supporter pack. I still have to go through my transactions, see how much I need. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because the beta got pushed back. So we're going to have a whole nother league I can spend money on. Which I guess is good because I don't have to spend the 100. I can just get like one of the packs that I want. I don't know if I want the turtle hideout that badly to spend an extra $30. Honestly, none of the outfits, none of the skins were really that crazy to me. That mimic pet was pretty fucking scary. That was pretty cool. When do they reveal the challenge league rewards, the armors and stuff? That purple one was amazing. That purple armor might be one of my, well, actually, it is one of my favorites, if not my favorite skin I've seen. Take a cold bath, turtle hat out. Yeah, that turtle's dope. So does anyone know when they reveal the challenge rewards? And what the challenges are? Is that like a day before the league kind of thing? Didn't they used to do patch notes like 2 days before the league? God, that's 10 years ago. What? Yeah, I was gonna say, that's not Path of Exile. Yeah, that's true. They'll probably drip drop them. So it sounds like it doesn't cost anything. You just get 30 slots in the beginning. But you're gonna want stash tabs and shit. You think guild stash tabs probably go on sale when the other stash tabs go on sale? Gotcha. What is this? Range maps in the inventory below to spell out your tag. SAFEOT. Safa. 3 to 6 symbols. Alright, so just SOT. Alright, well, I guess that's it. I'm gonna go watch some videos and what other people thought of the patch notes. I'm gonna get some food. I'm gonna count up my thing. I might make that. Might make the guild. Do that. It's gonna suck leaving Cookie Squad. Cookie Squad. Know some nice dudes there. But yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. Corp, Rotaku, Jeffrey, everyone, Dane, appreciate it. Anyone else that was chilling? I'm gonna go cry in the shower about the nerfs to reducing mana cost. Yeah. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. I will probably be on either this weekend or sometime next week to talk about some plans and stuff, but I don't know if there will be much before the league goes live. Who knows? We'll see. Alright, everyone have a great